Welcome back to Métropole Grid. My name is Andre.
And my name's Jeff.
And thanks so much for tuning in. We are back once a year if we're lucky. We have this definitive tier list. Vantage Point at this point has come out. It feels like 2.5, 3 weeks ago. We kind of slept on this one, huh? We were a bit slow on the trigger here.
Yeah, it might be almost a month by the time you're watching this, but better late than never, you say. Yeah. It turns out it can be hard to schedule when you got kids.
Yeah,
so
that's a bit harder.
Well, I guess kid, but yes.
Still, I'm super excited for this. Maybe by the time this is out, the runner side will be up on Jeff's channel. Link to that could be in the description below. The tone on that one is a bit, all over the place. This one is the total opposite. We're going to spend the next, I'm going to say hour, please don't look down at the YouTube time bar, talking and fighting about which one of these cards is more busted than the rest, because, oh my God, the Corp cards in Vantage Point are absurd.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be, if you've just come from that video, get ready for a huge vibe shift. It is pretty, we ended that call going, oh goodness, we do like this set. We hope people understand we like this set. This is going to be a big part of why we like this set so much. I think it has some some of the most interesting and some of the most powerful Corp card designs we've seen in quite a while.
Yeah.
So this should be a lot of fun to talk about.
It seemed like for a while that's what the meta needed. Runners were kind of doing everything. Corp's the bad rotation from a year ago. No rotation this year, but yeah, the cards are good. And we're going to be talking about that. So 2 or 3 caveats off the top. Firstly, when we're talking about this tier list, first 1.1 caveat, we're going to do a better job describing what we're doing for audio. So if you're listening to this like a podcast, well, I will throw up card images so you can see all the cards we mentioned that are not here. You can listen to this. So we'll say very clearly where things are going in. You can watch this as audio only. Secondly, this is all about competitive standard Netrunner. So that's the sort of format the World Championship is played in. Most organized play is played in. That's not the most important Netrunner, but that is the Netrunner that we participate most in. And we're talking here about competitive play. So again, a lot of these cards, well, some of these cards, very few of these cards might not be competitive cards, but that doesn't mean that they're not fun or great or that we are happy that they exist and we enjoy them. But again, competitive play has its own, requirements. Finally, if you like content like this, you want to take a second to leave a like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. That helps a heck of a lot. Jeff, do you want to talk about our patented tier lists ranking system we've been doing forever?
Yeah, this is completely unchanged. This list is actually unchanged. I've been pretty happy with this for quite a while. And we put cards in 6 tiers. While they are hierarchical here and there's some hierarchical things, it's not always true that a card in one category is strictly better than another category in terms of power level or prevalence. And I'm going to talk about them in a little bit more detail to describe each of that. And we'll see why I make the distinction of it's not just a to F ranking or whatever, S to F ranking. All right. So let's starting at the very top. This is Ban Me Please. This category, lovingly named, is the cards we think are most powerful and basically going to shape and warp the meta. They may not actually be cards we want to see banned. We may like that shaping and warping, but this is the best name for this category for sure. And our hit rate on this has been
pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
Not bad.
Yeah. Maybe I've talked some cards out of Ban Me Please that ended up in there that you wanted to. I'll have to go back and watch the tapes on Tributary. But
yeah, it's so true.
Next up, we got Faction Staple. So these are cards that are not necessarily the strongest cards, but if you're playing this faction, you're almost always going to be either playing this card or it will have just missed the cut, but it will be seen play in many, many common decks. These are often cards that kind of go reg decks that generate a lot of value and are just quite generically good, but they're not always stronger than the next category down. This is Archetype Enabler. These are cards that on their own enable specific styles or strategies of play in a way that probably almost no other cards do. Thus, they're an enabler. These cards are often quite powerful, quite impactful, but maybe not completely broken as they might be in Ban Me Please. Next up, we got Archetype Role Players. These are generally not, the difference between a role player and an enabler. Enabler is like, this is the card I am building around. A role player says, if I am building around this other thing, this is a card that is going to make that strategy stronger, more consistent, more reliable. And sometimes decks just need role players more so than they even need enablers. Enablers might already exist. Role players that come out might be really impactful in the deck becoming quite strong. So it is generally true that the role player is less powerful. Next up, we got slots are hard. These are cards that might be good in certain board states, but they end up being just not quite good enough, frequently enough for you to include them in your deck too often. Often these are called the like 50th card because we're on the Corp side. It's just a card you would love to include in your hand, but you can't quite. A common metric for me is like, this card is probably good about 2 or 3 in 10 games, but also I need cards that are more consistently good than that. So that's often kind of my thing. Last but not least, and honestly something I expect to not see us talk about a lot today, the binder. These are cards that we think kind of just don't have a competitive use case. It doesn't mean we don't like them or they're not interesting cards. We spend a lot of time, I think, in the runner side talking about cards that we put in the binder that we're excited to play with. But we just don't really expect them to even really be a consideration. They're not the 50th card or the 51st card. They're your 60th card, your 100th card. They're just not something that really feels like they enable a lot for you.
And that's our tier list. Again, in each category, we will be ranking things from left to right. So most powerful on left, least powerful on right, to some extent. And by the end of this, we'll always like go back and correct our board and change things around. So anything you see early might not be there forever. And that's mostly it. Again, we have a lot of cards here. Technically, I mean, Vantage Point was like 66 cards, I think. So we have like 35 cards to go through. You want to start here at the top?
Yeah, let's start at the top.
And we're starting here with HB. This is a new agenda. It's called the Méliès City Luxury Line. 5/3 agenda. Expansion subtype doesn't matter. It says as an additional cost to steal this agenda, the runner has to spend a click. And when you score this agenda, you also gain a click. Mind you, that's only for the corporation runners, steal agendas. I think I listened to the beginning of the last tier list we did for the last set, where we spent so much time just dunking on HB, which did actually okay overall, it turns out, in competitive play over time. It did okay. But the big problem with HB is HB didn't have a 5/3 that they were excited to play for, besides salvo testing, which is like the HB 5/3 core damage thing. You have to really build your whole game plan around. Yeah, dog, this is the HB agenda that like, this is the best text you could put on an HB agenda, like flat out. This thing is absurd. Yeah. It's really good.
This agenda is so wild. And it's like, you know, the protection effect is relevant while not being overwhelming. And the on-score effect is significantly bigger than it appears. Like getting a click back is such a big deal because HB, basically every HB deck is playing some form of a fairish tempo game where their goal is to keep putting threats on the remote or, you know, something else. Maybe not always a remote, right? But keep presenting threats on the board and being able to just get a click back after you score a 5/3 to continue to present those threats is a huge deal. There's also some funny combo lines that that click gain opens up that we might talk about later in conjunction with some other cards. This agenda like the biggest question to me right now is, do I play 2 or 3 of this in a given HB deck? It's like, I don't even, you know, I'm not going to look at SAM. I'm not going to look at vulnerability audit. Like, this is just where I'm going to start with HB agendas. Pretty much going for, I think I've even, you know, I think I was playing against a Thule list and they were playing this instead of salvo testing. And I was like, yeah, that makes some sense, I think. Yeah. It's very hard to steal. It's basically, you know, salvo test, it kind of is like, oh, if you're playing Thule, you're probably going to get a core damage when they try and steal this, which is nice.
Yeah, there's like a big shift that I think we're all going to observe across this whole set. And that is like, there's a lot of support for scoring corporations. I think that's a really good thing because in the last meta, we had a bit too much kill. We had a bit too much assets. We had a bit too much fast advance. And here we're getting cards, a lot of cards that actually allow corporations to play that sort of like mid-range archetypal Netrunner that most people learn the game and have like fond feelings for. And I think that's like just going to be such a huge shift that we have to like take a couple months to understand how this works. And this is like very easily a card for that. Score it, have a click back, jam the next thing. Normally when you score a 5/3, you cede entirely your tempo. You just basically score a 5/3 pass. And then the runner can basically have like, well, sort of 2 turns in a row if you want to think of it like that. That's no longer the case. Putting a card in the remote server is so dang good. The defensive text is relevant, you know, clicking through Byroids for LEO, MIC text, Managarm Skunkworks. Like the entire HB faction works about caring about how many clicks the runner has left. Shout out to active policing, to Caveat Emptor.
Yeah.
Like every single card cares about this text. This thing is unimaginably the best 5/3 that could have been printed for HB. It was click to get, or in 2 credits versus click and have score text. This is very much where like it seems NSG wants to be. They want you to score your agendas, so why not give you just absurd text on it? This card is like straight a faction staple. Like I don't know if you put in Bambi Plays, I would consider it, but like it is just the best thing we can ask.
Yeah. I feel like it's hard for me to put in Family Plays. Someday I'll have to do a whole video about why I actually really like the NSG policy of like agendas should not just be no tempo for you, and why I think that's great for the game. But that's a whole separate conversation probably for another time. Because there is obviously nuance there. But
shout out to Measured Response, not so much the card, but the show, if you know. There's some good talks about that, like how tempo positive should agendas be, and at some point is a 2 tempo positive. We should make cards that make agenda scoring easier. Really interesting conversations to be had, but like this card is just such a banger. I do want to say my one gripe about this card is the name. When you search Melias, you're expecting it to show up the identity, which we'll be talking about later today on NRDB, but it pulls up an HB card. Don't like it. I wish a lot of people call this like Train or something like that, but you'll come up with your own name for sure.
We got to go. Next time Patrick is on, you got to scold him for not thinking of a second city name on the moon.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, it's fine. Speaking of the name change, we have a unique asset here, Synchro Cyclotron. This card had a different name at some point last year. It's a facility asset. It says the first double operation you play each turn costs a click less to play. 2 influence, 3 trash cost. Has some of my favorite flavor text in all of Netrunner. This card we saw earlier, technically the rules kind of changed. Well, the rules didn't change. It got a uniqueness thing. So like kind of the rules made more sense. In short, one double.
Yeah. Technically there probably is an interaction you could have done when this was first revealed and it wasn't unique. You could have 2 of these res. The weird thing about it was that like the second one didn't actually do anything.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
So, that's just why it has a unique now. And like technically I guess that's a nerf, but this card is not like blowing me away in power right now, which isn't to say it doesn't have a role. It just feels like it's a bit of a bit player that I suspect is going to get like optimized out, but maybe it's wrong. It feels like right on that edge to me of where the power is. I think part of that is because there's just not that many doubles that see play. There's a really notable one in Flood the Market, which we'll talk about later. And that's the one place I've been seeing this, but the other like double support out there, like I think there was, I remember during preview season getting pretty terrified of distributed tracing.
I knew you were going to say that.
And like maybe one day that fear will manifest, but I think in practice, it's because a little fiddly for what it does. And the power level of doubles right now is not really where it would be to make this card. Like you can't just res this for value. It has to basically, you have to get more than a click's worth of value out of the click this is saving you. And there's a way to do that with Flood the Market, but it's just like, it's a specific thing that it has to do.
Yeah, on the Corp side of the set, like there's a couple sub themes. One of them is bad publicity. We'll talk about it. And another one is doubles, because this set actually has a handful of doubles in it. And the weird thing is like HB has like 3 or 4 doubles in the faction, which has to be the highest out of any faction. The issue is a lot of those doubles don't make sense in the same deck. Like they're really weird bespoke pieces. So like ideally the vanilla cyclotron should be in a deck that has like, let's say 6 doubles, but that's not the case because like, why are you de-resing your ice in this deck? You have some other issues. Like it just doesn't make sense. I would say that I started in your camp where I thought that this card was like maybe, a cute card to add to the Flood the Market HB Asset Spam deck, whether it's poetry or PD, and I'm leaning more towards the latter. But the more I've seen it, I actually think this card, as much as it is only interacting with Flood the Market in that deck, might be a bit better than I think it is. And I think it's because I started to see people do like res humanoid resources, fire humanoid resources, install 2 cards, and then use humanoid to play Flood the Market and score out, which is like kind of a busted line. You picking up what I'm
guess,
down here?
I mean, you have, I see what you're saying. And like, it is like, oh yeah, there isn't another card that easily enables that in the same way.
No, like Bass. The thing is, the closest thing to this is Bass, and Bass you fire for the same cost and it goes once. This, if it fires once, the runner still has to deal with it, which is what you want to deal with Flood the Market anyways, is destroy the board. But it's not unlikely for this to fire twice, especially when Precision Design fires. You powers that be back a card into the remote server like a humanoid, and you PD Precision Design back to Flood the Market to set it up for next turn. Like it just keeps going. I think this might be a bit better than it looks.
I think that is probably true. And like I think another important thing compared to Bass, especially when we're talking about these Flood the Market decks, those care about having assets in behind ice, and Bass gets rid of itself, this obviously sticks around, which provides its own just kind of, I'll call it passive value in those decks. So yeah, I mean, this card, it's like, to me, this is not an enabler, but it's definitely a role player in a lot of those decks, and like probably does make it so that those decks can do things they could not otherwise do.
Yeah.
I think the thing I'm not sure about yet is like whether it's like, oh, if you took out that interaction, does that deck still work? My hunch is yes, but worse. But maybe that's,
so. Well, yeah. I think this card actually like opens up a lot more aggressive scoring for 4/2s. And like, I think those sort of decks need to score out to do the sort of recursion loop that continues to push them forward. So I agree with you. I think I'm never sure if it's bullish or bearish, the one that wants the thing to happen, but like I'm slightly a bit higher on this, I think, on the basis that this is actually a key piece to get your combo started, which kickstarts everything. I think starting and kickstarting your tempo to do the PD loop is kind of worth something. At the end of the day, all trashables are must trashables, but to me, it's somewhere beneath enabler and role player. Like Flood the Market works without it, but in the Flood the Market deck, it's actually like kind of important.
Yeah, to me, that's probably the top. To me, that's like, oh, it's going to be a very strong role player, right? Also, for the trick I heard to remember bear versus bull, bull swipes up. So you're expecting the market to go up, and the bear like claws swings down when it's trying to attack. And so you're expecting the market to go down. So you're bearish means you're negative about things. Bullish means you're positive about things.
Perfect.
Who knows if that's true?
Speaking of stabbing. Do you want to read the next card?
Oh boy, now you can't cut that random tangent. Okay. This is Ansel 2.0. This is an 8 cost, 5 strength, Ice Sentry Biroid Destroyer. Like all Biroids and all 2.0 Biroids, has lose, click, click, break up to 2 subroutines on this ice. Only the runner can use this ability. It has 4 subroutines. Trash one installed runner card. Remove 1 card in the heap from the game. You may install 1 card from HQ or archives and end the run. And then the text, designed by 2021 world champion Patrick Gower. And this is 4 influence for those of you that desperate to splash your Biroids out of the faction.
I think Patrick is getting more handsome with age. What do you think?
I would agree. This is a very
It's a good art. I like this one a lot.
It's a very good art. Yeah. It is also much more clearly Patrick than Ansel 1.0.
For historically, mind you, 2.0 Biroids have existed. We've seen even 3.0 Biroids back in the day. This is, if I'm not mistaken, the first 2.0 that NSG has ever put out. And technically 2.0 Biroids like have shown up in world's winning lists. They have a nice like face check penalty because you can't clear all the subroutines. You usually don't have that many clicks, but they've never been beloved. Like 1.0, good enough. 3.0, absurd. 2.0, kind of okay, but like a strange spot to be in.
Yeah, they often are in this middle place where like they're kind of expensive to res, they're kind of high strength, and their subroutines are kind of annoying, but often because they're like lose, click, click, they're designed to be a little bit softer to face check to some degree than the 1.0s, where it's like the 1.0s often assume that you'll be able to like incrementally make your choices. And I think this ice has a little bit of this where it's like, oh yeah, if you look at this, probably like in most cases, if you have the clicks to spend, there's 2 subroutines that you're almost always going to be fine with firing as the runner, and just kind of saying, okay, you spent 8 to res this ice. You basically get to remove a card from the heap from the game, which unless you're Shaper or Seb is probably not that impactful. And then ended the run, and you spent 8 to go and do that. Yeah, you've got a good sentry, but maybe not. So maybe that's a problem I can solve in other ways.
I live for the board state where somebody clicks to the remove from the game because it's like game losing, and then they let you trash something because that's not game losing. Like I want to see that. It has to probably be like an Ashen Epilogue or something. They want to buffer drive back, but I guess you can just crack your buffer drive at instant speed if you really are worried. So who knows?
I mean, it might. Key programs like Aquaceris's crew that you were gonna praxis on your next click kind of thing. Like, there's relevant targets. It's a good most factions.
I wish we had that subroutine more. It's a cool subroutine.
Yeah. It is a good subroutine. But it's like, oh yeah, if I'm spending 8, am I that excited to fire the subroutine, right? Like that's kind of the problem.
I don't know. It's a Biroid. That's really important. I was like really interested to see how NSG would continue to print Biroids with LEO existing, because LEO really wants, I wouldn't even say as many Biroids as they can get, because it seems like they have enough. Maybe that foreshadows a bit of my NCL 2.0 thoughts. But like, I don't think they can print cheap Biroids that easily anymore, because that just doesn't make sense.
I
This
think
one,
an Eli 1.0 in
Yeah.
Leo seems like it would just be
nonsense.
absolutely wild. Yeah.
Just nonsense. I think NCL 2.0 is like solving a problem that LEO doesn't really have. Like, I don't think LEO needs its face checks to either be that much worse or have a bigger sentry specifically. I thought when this came out, it'd be like dunked on because people are trying out stealth, and after image would bypass this for 2 stealth credits. I don't think stealth is as popular as you might have guessed. Talk about the runner side of the tier list or whatever. But I still haven't seen with this in the wild, and I'm not surprised why. I don't think this like naturally fits on any sort of HB deck. They're either going horizontal or they're going LEO, and it doesn't look like either of them want this sort of effect at this price.
Yeah, agreed. I think it is one of those other things where I'm like, oh, if this was higher strength, maybe I consider it. But it's like, right now, this is in the unfortunate spot where Carmen boosts once to match it. Echelon boosts once to match it once it's at strength 3. Like, it's
good to Revolver.
The like different. Yeah. Revolver boosts twice and then has to eat up most of its counters, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad. But it's weird. Yeah. I don't think too highly of this. I don't think it's a card we'll remember that exists in a couple of weeks, besides Patrick, which we always remember Patrick exists because Patrick is kind of great.
Yes. So, I mean, I guess that this goes to the binder. It's not, I would almost going to argue for slots are hard, but I just don't, I don't think it gets there.
Yeah. Like, you're really happy playing your 3 boomies and like your 2 drafters and LEO list. And if there's a massive shift to Glacier, which like maybe there is, I do think runners are a bit more aggressive than they might be in a week or so. Once people slow down and start playing more daily casts and Carpe Diems, there is a chance that we might correct out of it. But right now, I don't think there's a big point for this card. Okay. Did you expect there to be harmonic support in the set? Did you think they'd print another harmonic?
Did
anyone ask for it?
I didn't know this was coming. So like, it's hard for me to answer that question. No one was asking for it, right? Everyone just kind of collectively forgot that harmonic was a subtype that was printed in the wider Netrunner community. But within NSG, they said, you know what? Let's give it just the smallest thing.
Yeah,
I will say, we should probably read the card. So this is Reverb. This is a 4-cost, 2-strength barrier. It's harmonic as another subtype. And then it has the text. This is also 1 influence for those of you looking at this. Actually, harmonics are generally splashable, which is interesting. But anyway,
influence,
and this one actually might even, I don't think it's, it has the text. The res cost of this ice is lowered by 1 credit for each other unresed piece of ice. Then it has end the run.
This ain't bad though, right? Like, it's not bad.
No, this is not ice that you're like, oh, sweet, I get to put a reverb in my deck. But you're like, actually, this is doing exactly what I need. Being a cheap end the run barrier that is not free to get through even when the breaker is down is often just what you're looking for. And we're seeing a lot of wide HB decks at the moment. And resing this for 1 or 0 credits actually is happening a good amount of the time. And that's great for those decks. Those decks want ice that is there to present not impenetrable problems to the runner, but things they have to deal with. And resing for 0, 1, or 2 on this is great. It's really like, it feels like it's on rate and it's presenting things that those decks really want to do.
Yeah, it's worth saying when it comes to like, breaker math, ice math, which I'm a deep believer in when it comes to like budgeting. This ice, if you res it for 3, that is fair market cost. You save 4 influence, not splashing a battlement. But like technically, if you res this at 2, you're gaining a credit. 1 is obviously better, 0 is the best. And there's a lot of board states where it's not unreasonable to res this for 2. You just have to get a couple more ice on the table. That makes sense for HB. I do want to say the harmonics tag. Like, I can't speak to this with harmonics. I do know that this card's good with D-res harmonics packages, because if all your other ice is D-resed because you're insisting on playing Stegadon, which I think is better than I want it to be. Like, I'm saying this because I don't like playing against it, not because you shouldn't. It's probably better. This is a nice thing. And there's a bit more D-res support in the entire like HB package that came out over the last year or so that actually likes a card like this. Like, this is actually a really good payoff for those decks. But even in just horizontal, if you play no other reverb cards, no other harmonic cards, the floor in this is fine. I just think the one thing that's getting me is like, if you can play a couple extra credits for, a Hagen that might be relevant in the meta right now. A bladed barrier is what you expect to pay for this. It's less taxing, but has really strong text. So to me, the more restriction is how many cheap end run barriers do you want in your deck. And that deck, if it's a flood the market deck, which it sounds like it is, you do want to get many things protected cheaply as quickly as possible. So this lines up with what you want the ice to do. But again, this competes with Ablative, and Ablative seems so good in those sort of decks, as long as you can get that threat kind of quickly.
I think the thing I've seen is like you often want between 4 and 5 barrier slots in those style of decks. It's like, okay, I'm going to run 3 drafters. I'm going to run 4 to 5 overrate code gates. I'm going to talk about the next one, the other overrate code gate that HB got in this set.
Yeah.
And then you want, 4 to 5 barriers and sprinkle another ice in for choice. And Reverb totally earns its slot there. And I've personally done like a 2-2 split of Reverb and Ablative because Ablative is not always online. And it actually does kind of hurt to res it in the before you're at threat, where you're like, oh, I'm spending 2 credits and I'm not really taxing the runner. I'm at best forcing a breaker.
Yeah.
And Reverb in those early board states can actually be quite good because you can know that it's there and make choices on ice reses to support that and get more value out of this.
Yeah. There's some weird board state where if your opponent, and I don't think you can sniff it out, but if they run in the wrong way where then you have to res this for 4, it feels bad. I'm assuming that doesn't happen. You have enough agency to force them into your remotes, but I don't know. But card is like, for harmonics, I'm like kind of into this thing. This thing is like just totally fine, kind of fine.
Yeah. And I could see a world where like, oh, this and Pulse start to do some stuff together. Like I think it's interesting where you could start looking at those wide packages and they might be able to play with and do some surprise stuff with harmonics. But even without it, I think it's a solid card on its own, which is why although it like is the only harmonic that has I think no references to the other harmonics.
Yeah.
And I think bottom of archetype role player, which admittedly right now is just 2 cards.
That makes sense.
Place for it.
Okay. Let's talk about one of those on or overrate code gates because we got good old 8 legs of power, 8 horsepower, 1 horsepower, 8 horse legs, 4 cost, 4 strength code gate. This is Sleipnir, which is Odin's horse. It's got 3 subroutines. You may draw a card, that's the Corp. You may shuffle a card from HQ or archives into R&D and end the run. This card's also 2 influence, which puts it, I believe, the same amount of influence as Scatterfield, which was a very splashable end the run code gate that had some limitations on it, but was seen in a lot of different places over the last meta. And somehow we got a card that like represents very similarly this sort of like vibe of like 4 cost end the run code gate. I don't know why we got 2 so close back to back. And this one's nonsense. The numbers on this, like, when we talk about budget, this ice should cost 5 or 6. Like, this is cheaper than it should be. You get a deal every time you res a Sleipnir. Now, I think the reason why you get a deal is not all the time do all those subroutines matter. Like, I will boomerang this and let them draw a card sometimes. Sometimes that's bad. Shuffle card from HQ and R&D, that's can be impactful. Shuffling a hedge fund, I'm not too scared about that. But like getting an agenda out of HQ when you're running HQ, you can't let that happen. So you can let a subroutine fire, but like this card easily could have cost 5 and I would be happy resing it. I don't know why this is so cheap.
I don't know why this is so cheap either. I think this is like a card that you should have a reason not to play this over a reason to play this whenever you're looking at an HP deck. It is just kind of it is above rate in a really impactful way. Yes, the runner often will let those subroutine, the draw and shuffle subroutines fire, but like
still good.
That's a huge deal. Like it's not drafter level value, but like it is still just a ton of options and forward stuff, like value that you could get to generate off of an ice that's going to still cost the runner quite a bit to actually go and deal with. And like the best I can justify this cost is their dev is, or when this card is released, they're just assuming that everyone's going to be on a Buzzsaw, Leech or Buzzsaw Tungsten Tailor rate. Yeah. So they'll break this for 1.
Which like,
and like,
I don't get that argument.
I don't even know that that's happening.
I think it is happening. And it's 4 days since we recorded the last video or whatever. And Tungsten Tailor like is just kind of sneaking higher and higher up the tier list chart. Maybe we should have been harsher on it. But like, I do not like the idea that like these breakers are made because there's going to be like, we all believe that there's only one icebreaker path that makes sense because that's how you make a homogenous meta, right? Like saying the only way to deal with this is this plus this means we'll do the this plus this thing. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, this card stands out as a little bit overcurved to me.
Yeah.
Like I've definitely fired the subroutines and been underimpressed as the court, but I've also fired the subroutines and been like, cool, that just
One do you
got
think?
me an agenda's worth of value because I got to shuffle back in I got to save a spin doctor shuffle. I got to draw a card to get myself out of a hole. Like it can do a lot. So
Yeah. And like speaking of Tungsten Tailor, Force Strength is good. It goofs on Audrey, goofs on every mode of Shibboleth. Like this thing is hard to break. Like I don't get it. Numbers are too good. People are comparing this to Whoredom, and let's be honest, you don't triple advance Whoredom. The first subroutine on Whoredom doesn't matter. It's not really here.
Yeah.
Here we have 3 very legitimate subroutines for the same cost. Cards nonsense. Whoredom is also not that bad.
Yeah.
Stop dunking on Whoredom.
Yeah,
I mean,
Whoredom saw quite a bit of play. And I mean, Whoredom was like a 3. It was like functionally trying to just be, oh, this is 3 to res. And like this is like, oh, this isn't 3 to res. Instead, this is kind of 2 to res. Like, oh, draw a card, shuffle back a hedge fund. Like it can be nuts. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. This card's quite strong. At the same time, like the world's not falling. This isn't really a ban list card to me. Like the thing, I could see a world where it's like, oh, they decide to ban Buzzsaw, and so then like Sleipnir gets kind of like banned out of abundance of caution. But that's like the only world where I could see something like that happening.
But that's what I want to say. Like, hey, this is a card that is 2 influence. It is like a mid-range code gate is something you want in just about every deck. I do think there's some decks that would play Scatterfield over this. If you're going full horizontal, maybe more testing can be done. But if you have any deck,
saving that credit is a big deal in a lot of cases.
Exactly. And then having the horizontal tempo. I'm just saying, like your mid-range Melias deck, your op deck to have a 4-cost code gate, there is no deck that you could not make a compelling case to put this in it because it is just a deal. 4-cost and run code gate with value is sick.
Yeah. Now, so this is faction staple.
Yeah, but I don't want to put it over the agenda because the agenda is just so much more important.
I think exactly. The agenda like defines what the faction is able to do. Yeah. This is a very good above curve ice, but it's not going to define the faction the way that Melia's luxury line is.
This tier list is going to be nonsense when you already have like 2 of the most powerful HP cards we've seen in a long time. And we're like, I don't know which way they go. Yeah. Anyways, there's some good cards in the set, and hopefully you already realize that.
And we get to come down from some of the best cards to it. Yeah. An interesting card for sure.
I don't know the text on this one. I haven't played with all the cards yet, mind you. That's why we do this early. Vertigo 1-cost code gate. It has a single subroutine that says the runner loses a click. It's 2 influence, but it has text. The text says, when a runner passes this ice, if they have no clicks remaining, they cannot steal or trash Corp cards for the remainder of this run, which is technically, I wouldn't say exactly an end the run because like abilities can still fire on successful run triggers, but functionally that does protect things in servers, which is nice. I don't have anything to say about this. Like, I have no idea what you're meant to do with this. If the runner or corporation if the runner doesn't have clicks, like I'm assuming you can build a deck that actually capitalizes on that inherently. Like you don't need this text. Now the lose a click subroutine, that is impactful because of all the other stuff, but like they already can't deal with your agendas. They can't deal with Thule. They can't deal with Managarm. They can't deal with MIC. They can't deal with LEO. This seems more like a horizontal tool where it's now like 2 clicks to check the asset. The sort of like, what is that 3-1 where they wear that dress with the fish in it?
Aggressive trend setting.
Aggressive trend setting. Thank you. It seems like it goes in that sort of deck, and mind you, aggressive trend setting isn't a deck as far as we know, and I don't think it's going to become a deck, considering horizontal scoring can close the game way faster, seemingly than a text would actively matter. I got nothing on this, man.
Yeah, I was like gonna try and be like, oh, I could see a world where like this isn't like oh, I have some cheese ice and some, and it's like no, it's just kind of. I can see the deck that is hinting at, like this feels like it's hinting at something.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's missing everything else that it kind of needs to go with. And it also just, I'm like, why could this have been 3 strength? Like this subroutine is like, and I think we're actually going to see a 1-cost 3 strength code gate later that still probably won't hit our mark of really playable cards.
Nope.
And this is 1 strength for a reason that just kind of doesn't make sense to me. 1 strength is basically like, I don't even know that there is a 0 strength decoder in the format right now. So 1 strength is basically the same as 0 right now,
unless
which is pretty rough.
You play Stegodon, which, like this could have not been a subroutine, right? Like if this was just stinky text and says like remote server only or something.
If this was like a troll, I mean, if this was like a troll style effect where it's like the runner loses a click and then when they pass decisive, they have no clicks, that would be really quite interesting. But this card just kind of doesn't get there. And so it goes in the binder. I think it's
much below
probably better. Oh, okay. I was going to,
On sale does something. This doesn't do
that's
anything.
true. You will see on sale 2.0 in Glacier List.
Yeah.
It will do stuff. It'll be annoying. It's just less optimal than your other options.
Yeah, people will play Ganked. People will put this in somewhere. There's nothing neat you can do with Vertigo, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. Neat cards, Caveat Emptor. Shout out to Mauricio Herrera. Been doing Netrunner art for over a decade. Just the most fun. Transaction, a lot of cool support. That's the cool thing about the set. There's support for all different archetypes, kind of seemingly like intentionally. It's really cool. Resolve one of the following, and you get 2 modes. Card does one thing. Sorry. So one of the options is gain 6 credits. So functionally gain 1 credit. The runner gets -1 allotted click for the next turn. The other option is you double your money, gain 10 credits, so gain 5. The runner gets +1 allotted click for their next turn. So you get a choice, and I think this card's quite neat.
I totally agree. I think the multimodal of this version of this card actually gives it quite a bit of different varieties of decks it can go into.
Yeah.
And like, this is looking to me like it could be like a Leo Econ staple where like, turn 1, sure, you can have a click. That's worth 5 credits for me. And then, let me jam in this remote. I'll take a credit to deny you a click. Like that sounds fantastic just the same. Especially if you can combine it with an active policing. Like I think the click denial and click compression, like this card being also solid turn 1 to 3 econ, I think is a huge deal for making this kind of click denial strat, like making click denial or click restriction like really something available to HB.
Yeah, a lot of the LEO lists were like spending influence on Hansei, and it's firstly because they needed a lot of money quickly, but then on top of it, they just needed enough operations for humanoid research. Humanoid research. What is that card called? I never know it right. HR.
Humanoid resources.
Resources. That's it. Yeah, humanoid resources. And there just wasn't enough HB operations that made sense in the deck. And then this is so nice that you can do that tempo play. You can install an agenda. You can play this so they have a click less. But like, again, on turn 1 or turn 2, the only bad thing, and I haven't seen it yet, is when he plays against Shaper. Like, sure, deep dive is the thing. Not so much on turn 1, but when they play Ritual for 4 cards, that's so cute. And I want to see that happen because that has to happen way more than I think I've seen it. But like, 5 credit econ card to trade a click on turn 1 is worth it. Having that panic button, that jump back when you're behind, you can go from 5 to 10 is such a big break point because that means you can res any ice in your deck and still threaten to score out, let alone it's just playable. And the second mode actually matters. I'm scared to see the mode of the deck that plays this and then like plays Oppo Research, like that does the Thule thing with this and like active policing. Like I do think you can build some sort of hell. I just think that hell is like so card intensive in hand that like it has issues. But like this card not only is like a robust, solid, flexible economy card, but it does actually open up weird other archetypes. Card's good, card's neat, really cool design.
Yeah. The biggest question to me is this an archetype role player or like a poor faction staple?
I think it's a poor staple. I think, I don't think Precision Design is playing this, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But like LEO is going to be always playing this.
I wonder if that just means it's an archetype role player then. Because like it is.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
So right now we have a top of role player. I think like, maybe Cyclotron is that much. I think Cyclotron's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I think we should move Cyclotron above it. I think
its effect is more impactful.
Yeah, for sure. I could see a world where if the meta evolves and shifts more towards LEO, that we end up seeing more Caveat Emptor than we see Cyclotron. But I think like right now, as we're looking at it, the impact of a single Synchro Cyclotron is just going to be a little bit higher than Caveat Emptor, even though it's, I think, quite powerful and interesting card.
Yeah, very good. LEO stable. I think you play 3-0 for sure. All right, another card. This is the first of 2 doubles. Talk about the Cyclotron. This I'm just going to call it reallocate. Starts with a lowercase r. That's really cute. 0 cost double, so it takes 2 clicks. And it says to choose 2 resed pieces of ice. For each chosen piece of ice, gain credits equal to its printed res cost, then de-res it. So it is hopefully slightly an economy card. Hopefully it resets some of your cool on res effects, whether you're playing this out of faction, whether you're playing an HB with your ablatives and your, what are they called? Their harmonics and stuff like that. And you maybe res something really cheap and now you have the money back in pocket for your 1 click left on your turn. This sort of like strategy of like, unresing ice to get the credits back, the sort of like very old school Blue Sun thing used to be its own archetype. We really haven't seen that at all. We've seen like no tempo positive D-res. As much as I would heavily a struggle to use the word tempo positive and reallocate in the same sentence.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of my problem with this card is like the thing that, so Blue Sun worked for two reasons. One, having just the most money in the world was actually a win condition in the world of punitive Counter-Strike.
Or mid-seasons or C-source or any of the things back in the day. Yeah.
The other thing is that Blue Sun did it clicklessly. So you could actually go and do something else with the rest of your turn. Realloc being a double just means, okay, I'm going to spend a click and then another click, make some money, and I have one click left to do something with all that money. And I just have a hard time thinking about the way to do that and exploit that. And even if we take away the double cost, because we assume we have a cyclotron res,
sure,
I'm still not even sure what I'm doing with that 2 clicks. It's like, I guess maybe I can set it for a double measured play if I derez, 10 credits worth of ice. But that's very fiddly when I can just play a more generically useful econ card.
Yeah, like a caveat emptor, just go gain 5 credits right now. And like, yeah, that's the thing to understand. So like we just talked about reverb, and reverb is that sort of ice where derezing is plentiful. It kind of feels to me like a Principia on the Corp side. It's like, oh, this actually becomes an econ card in the right board state. But then like, how good is reallocate as an econ card? It's 2 clicks to maybe make 4 credits or 6 to 8 credits. That's like fine, but it also is dependent on board state, the cards being rezzed. Like there's so many ways that can collapse underneath itself. Now, maybe there's cute ways to do it, like derezing log jams or grossly derezing anemones and pings. Like, I don't know. I think HB has actually had the tools for that misery engine for a while now with some of the stuff that came out alongside Thunderbolt, like Brazilian government grid, I think does that. The 4-2 agenda lightning laboratory. Like, I don't even know all the words on those cards, unfortunately. Maybe this is just Thunderbolt support. I don't know. I think having a slow, clumsy 2-click economy card just to get that extra subroutine does not make a lot of sense to me in Thunderbolt.
I think unlike, Principia is sort of an economy card because it ties in with an already existing powerful engine. And there's not actually a way to easily make this go credit positive. Like the best target I think we have is like derezing 2 reverbs, and then you get to make 8 credits, and then you can hopefully res them again for free. And that's like the closest you can get to the Principia econ payout. But you have so much less control about that as the corporation than the runner does when they install a Principia and knick-knack it away.
But like eminent domain and BOAC and reallocate it, like this seems so far removed from what a game should look like. I'm assuming.
Yeah, agreed. This is just bottom of binder to me. Like it's
a weird card. Like it seems like it's hinting at something in the set. And what's weird about this set compared to the runner and the Corp side, we talked about this on the runner side. The runner side, if you try to put all the like shaper cards in the single deck the way you used to do with other sets, it does not make any sense. On the Corp side here, it does seem like there's a bunch of discrete packages, but I don't know if there's support for this card in the set.
Yeah, I will say, and I think I said that in that video, I do like this more potluck style design rather than the jam everything in a deck design. I think by the time you're seeing this, I think we'll have talked about this actually on the Measure Response episode 4, cool. Assuming all things go as planned. Someone asked a question about that, the different philosophies of the kind of potluck versus core like engine design.
Yeah, so I like that for a bit. All right, next up we have the final HB double. This is a retirement plan. It's another Mauricio Herrera art. I like this one a lot. It's really dark, different the theme. 1 cost double, 2 clicks. It says install an agenda, asset, or piece of ice from archives. So you get something back. You do have to pay install costs, but it just can't be an upgrade, which is an interesting distinction on this to maybe stop some of that, like, I don't know, defensive strategy and Noetic Void back forever. We've seen cards like this. HB has had the, recursion from bin. If you want to archive memories a card and install it, this does it for the same amount of time as much as it does cost you an extra credit. We also had interns, which did win worlds once. That card is slightly different. It was a neutral card too. I don't see a huge point for this. And I think what's really interesting for this card too is we have the other one. We have that soccer game one. What's the double with the soccer game?
Oh,
corporate hospitality.
Yeah.
Corporate hospitality does like most of this. It's a bit clumsy because it forces you to draw a lot. It's like technically 2 clicks for draw 3, but you can corporate hospitality card back and install it. that's your whole turn, but you get money and do something else, it's not trashable. This one is not trashable. That is like, that already was a card that did not see a lot of play for like huge recursion engines. I do think some people played it in LEO to bring back like humanoids and just do the loop, but I don't see slots for this.
I think we were seeing a keep. Oh, we've already seen lists slotting this.
Have we?
Alco lists have been slotting this.
For what? For FUT?
Yeah, for FUT, for Bladderworts, for like.
That can't be 3 influence just to bring a Bladderwort back. That's what we're doing in 2026?
I mean, I don't hate it. Like that deck, like that deck can do a variety of different things.
Sure.
Now that it's less now that you're not spending necessarily all of your influence on end of the line oppos, like the retirement plan opens up different avenues of attacking. And like one of the problems with the Alco list for a long time was they trashed all of your FUTs, or they trashed 2 of your FUTs, and you're just hoping that last one shows up so that you can apply some pressure to the runner in some fashion. And this card lets you do that and lets you be kind of proactive, or like lets you figure out the tool that's best for you at the point in time. This card is kind of, this card is, I will say, like aggressively mediocre.
Yeah.
But I think it's in part because like the game is in a bit of a different place than when we had cards that were stronger at recursion. And I will also just say, as someone who's played a lot of corporate hospitality, I think the runner has seen more of my corporate hospitalities than I've ever gotten to play corporate hospitality.
Sure.
And so having the safety of knowing that I will be able to put a piece back into play is actually worth some of the loss of tempo that can happen when you just try and hope that your corporate hospitality will survive an HQ sweep or a D single kind of thing. This is not a card that we're like, oh man, this is such a shot in the arm of power level, like really skyrockets things around. But it's, to me, it sits between that line between Seltzer Hearted role player, probably moving into a role player for me. It's not, because it's fairly weak, I would put it fairly low in there. But the thing, like, this is not as much an HB card. I think there are HB decks that would look at this. I could even, I don't think we're seeing it in any of the modern PD, or I should say any of the modern like flood the market combo lists, because it's just, they don't particularly need that.
Yeah.
They're much too fast. But if you got a slower version of an HB asset deck, I actually think this starts looking pretty enticing.
I want to play as a Nuve, because that sounds kind of fun. Get a credit, look at your bin, make your cool choice. I don't know. For what it's worth, like corporate hospitality is a card that I know when it came out, I was a bit upset about it because it's like a lot of recursion and like card draw. And it turns out it's clumsy to play, but that's because giving someone 1 click and then 3 extra cards in hand is like a weird trade. I could see this. I would be surprised that people were actually going to play interns in 2026, but seemingly I'm maybe off base on this one. Interesting. Where do you want to put it?
I would put it probably at the bottom of archetype role player right now. But
below reverb. If
you want to put it in top of slots or hard, I think that's fine too.
Hey, man, anytime somebody with a Yuko wants to like do something that I think is gross, it turns out to be good, right? Like I could see the recursion being okay there. That's so much influence. Do we not have a better win con? I'm so surprised.
Let's move it down to slots or hard, and then people can dunk on me later for putting it there and not in the role player.
Okay. Interesting card. It's really hard to tell, and I think we're gonna have this conversation in just a minute. Like recursion used to be like a kind of a very taboo thing when it came to NSG, and we have a bunch of cards here that are like really strong recursion angles. I don't know why that is or what that means. We'll talk about the next card in a second, but cards do be coming back from archives. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, maybe not the next card, maybe the card after this one, right?
Excuse me.
But yes.
Well, kind of. Perfect recall. Ooh, recursion. 1 cost upgrade. You can't bring this back. Whenever you res this upgrade, and whenever an agenda is scored or stolen from this server or its root, you place a power counter on this upgrade. So again, whenever an agenda is scored or stolen from this server or its root. Wait, what? I didn't know that had that text. I thought it was from anywhere.
Yeah, no. This card is. Well, okay. The second clause, posted power counter, reveal 1 card in HQ. The runner cannot steal or trash copies of that card for the remainder of this run. Use this ability only during a run, and it's 3 to trash, 2 influence.
This is like one of those like 3D photos that you look at and you see something different, or it's meant to be the same thing. I think for the first like 20 minutes that I was like trying to understand this card, I thought it was an asset. And that's because Lakshmi Smart Fabrics like take such a warm part of my heart. And this is kind of a similar card.
Yeah.
So let's go over this.
And then,
go ahead.
And there is another card in the set that has a similar but different trigger, which is a little bit frustrating. So yeah, this card basically says when you res it, put a counter on it. And then also, even the agenda is scored or stolen where this upgrade is, add an additional counter.
Yeah. Okay. And you can always just res it to get the counter. So the idea with this is you're meant to be maxing out on the same card. So the idea is like they run your remote server. You're playing Bangoon. Did you know Bangoon was on Access, not on Steel? Super cool. And then they're about to touch your agenda. You res this, and then you show the extra copy of Sacrifice Zone expansion in your hand. They take the meat damage. They take the tag. They can trash the recall if they want. And mind you, recall can protect itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can. You won't have enough counters. And then they just have to walk away. So you can protect your bite or whatever you want it to be. Cards like this, like Lakshmi back in the day, Lakshmi was a bit different because you just needed to res a bunch of stuff. Turns out acid decks were really good at doing that. But also that deck like really incentivized you to play a weird agenda suite. Like I remember playing 21-point agenda decks just because you wanted to play 3 3-pointers and then 3 of like basically full play sets of the same agenda, which like this card kind of wants you to do, but I don't know what agenda suite that is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think another neat interaction, I don't think it's going to be a particularly common one. If you're playing against an ice destruction deck, you can use this to protect the ice that they would go and destroy.
The timing is weird because like if they're going to devil charm it, they have to do it. Like you have to do this before they encounter the ice because they get priority when they counter the ice. If they want to do devil charm chisel, you have to do it on approach. So they don't use the devil charm, right? Like it's not perfect, but it's okay.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, this card, that said, like this card feels like it's so I also was a Lakshmi Smart Fabrics lover. I think it was one of the key cards for Pinsel's 2019 World Championship list. That list was doing other, like, arguably more broken things, but without Lakshmi Smart Fabrics, I don't think that deck works.
That was Rococo, right?
But that was Rococo Asa, but the other thing that made that work was the plus hand size, which was Cyber Court. Yeah. And you're like, oh, well, play this out of PD. So you have a 6-card hand size. 6 cards is actually kind of hard to have 2 copies of a card when you have 6 cards in hand and a copy on the table versus when you had 9 cards in hand with Cybernetics Court, 2 of the same card in 10 is much more plausible. Lakshmi also was for the rest of the turn. Yeah. This is a run.
One run.
So the runner can just run back, which is tricky. And then getting extra counters on this, like Lakshmi was, again, anytime you res a card.
It wasn't. I don't even know if it was unique. I know you had multiple on the table, but that might have been a backup plan. It probably was unique.
I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was unique, but now I'm doubting myself. And I don't want to look over at my other monitor to check. But
editor on to figure it out.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like that. You could, yes, you had to pay more counters for things. Like it was a very different card, but the big thing was like you, as the corporation, you had so much control over both in construction and in play, how many counters you'd get and when you would want to be using them. And perfect recall is like, feels like they're just like all of that control is gone.
Yeah.
Right.
This card is either busted or does literally nothing. I think it does literally nothing. I think it's way too hard to make this thing work. Like if you're going out the way to play like digital rights management or pivoting for the right agendas to build the fork, it can still fall apart. They can run HQ. Then you have to fire this now. They can run the remote then. They can pinhole this. And then technically you can recall, protect with another recall, but then it doesn't do anything. Like it feels so much flimsier than just playing a Managarm Skunkworks. I don't know what I meant to do with this.
I don't know what this does that Managarm. I don't know what this clearly does better than Managarm.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I guess they can't steal this, the agenda on the click they run, but they could run back, and it's cheaper than dealing with a Managarm that they would have had to deal with to do the same kind of play. And, Managarm Void works way better than Perfect Recall plus any other upgrade you can name, basically. So,
and I'm still going to lose games to it. It's going to be sick, but like it's going to fire 1 in every 10 games, right?
The best case I've seen for this is like, oh, you do this with a warm reception D-res deck, So you just try and flicker this a whole bunch of times.
Mirror
that
morph.
could be, that maybe is the use case, but
it still has a fail case.
Don't even feel like that's enough. I don't even feel like that's enough of a payoff because I still need to get 2 cards to line up, one copy in my hand, one copy on the field. And if I'm including a card that's good enough to impact the area of play, well, probably I want that second one also doing something on the board, but now I have to hold it back so that this other card can provide me value. And that's tricky.
One of the neat angles is like you can do a let them dream train. So one let them dream protects the next let them dream, protects the next let them dream, kind of. But like, don't think about it too much.
The one, exactly. The let them dream in my road and my hand sort of protect each other.
And then you score that one to get the next one. Where does this go? I think it's below on sell.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is below on sell. So it's funny. It's like we hyped ourselves up going, this is this corporate cards are so cracked here. And then it's like, we're putting like just under half of HB's cards in binder. But I actually think that's kind of going to be the exception rather than the rule here.
But this is like classic. It's like every time, we can't print good and honest HB cards because HB just like ruins the whole game with them by being too efficient. And like you kind of see that, like where you try for the weird stuff. And if the weird stuff doesn't land, it looks terrible, right? Like harmonic cycle, 4 damage package. Like, I don't know if people love most of that stuff, but like ASA group imitators, sign us up. HB got some really good
also,
cards.
I mean, it's like, pick your favorite HB archetype. You get to play 3 cards out of those top 5 that are powerful, guaranteed, and potentially, you can find some more. And like HB felt really bad because the agenda suite was terrible.
Oh yeah.
And Melia's luxury line does so much to patch that up. And then they just got some really solid ice and, utility pieces in 2 of the best kind of decks. And there's another card that's an NBN card that's also an HB card that we'll talk about later. So
turns out there's a good neutral agenda too. Who would have known?
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about Jinteki? This is going to be a good one.
Oh yeah. People could,
do you want to explain how this works?
Yeah, sure. So this is Melia's U. Only the brightest. It's a 45-15 identity division. And the front side of this ID says, when your discard phase ends, secretly set your identity to any copy of this card.
You got 3.
You end up getting 3 copies of this. When the runner makes a successful run on a central server, flip this identity. When the runner's action phase ends, gain a credit. And then each of the backsides does the same thing. And they basically say, pick a server. If the runner runs this central server first before any of the other ones, this is Subsurface Labs. It's one of the 3 different backs. They all function the same way, but choose a different server. So when the runner makes a successful run on R&D, when the runner makes a successful run on any central, Melia's U flips their ID. If they called that server correctly, in this case, R&D, they would look at the top card of R&D. They may trash that card. If they do, they get to add a card from archives to HQ.
Including that card. It's one of the options.
Yeah. Yep. And that text is the same. That effect is the same of trashing the top card of R&D, having the option to trash the top card of R&D and recur a card from archives into HQ if you call that server correctly. And then when the runner's discard phase ends, flips identity. What that means is that this ID sort of there's basically 3 outcomes of this ID. There is the runner does not run a central server successfully, so you make a credit.
Sick.
The runner runs the server you called, so you get to potentially trash the top card of R&D and recur a card to your hand. That's great.
Messed up.
The last one is the runner runs a central you didn't call, and your ID is blank.
Sad.
Yeah.
NSG really cooked with this one. They really cooked.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's even this a little card that reminds you in like clear English how this ID works. And like once you play it once, it's like super intuitive. Like I'm not trying to dunk on that. Like this does play smooth.
Yeah.
It adds a bit of time to every turn where the corporation has to shuffle the cards and like pick the right one. And it's actually a very important decision on some board states. But yeah, there's some baggage.
Yeah. I have not played against this card a lot in a super competitive setting, which is definitely coloring my approach to it. I have not minded this, and I know that you do not like this ID.
It's complicated.
In terms of power level and play patterns and all that stuff. Um, you've pulled up Restoring Humanity, which is just a straight gain a credit turn, and MeliSQ can do a pretty good approximation of a credit a turn or better, right?
Yeah.
So there's been some people being like, "Oh, isn't this just Power Crypt RH?" I think that's
Somewhat.
missing some nuance because I have. So I guess I will say, and this might be early flex against JNet Casual. So what doesn't like it's not real data. As the runner, I mean, the odds are slightly in your favor in that you have a 2/3 chance to go and disrupt the ID. It is very easy if your opponent is playing, if the MeliSQ player is playing, I would say with some modicum of intelligence, to make it a 50-50 or even better than a 50-50, where you have to be taking actively bad runs as the runner to turn off this ID. And that's the powerful thing, and the thing that the best MeliSQ decks are going to be setting up is not trying to do mind games or do guesses, just try and say, the only way for my ID to not trigger is for you to make a run that's going to cost you more than it would cost me.
And that's like a really important thing, particularly in context of Glacier. Because I do think abstractly this idea is like pretty generalist. It can support everything, right? Maybe don't ice centrals and this is your central ice. But at that point, you are either in the Yomi space where you're trying to guess where your opponent is or is not going to run. So one of the best things you can do is play Glacier and then ice up 2 servers in a really drastic way. Maybe you don't ice up archives. And then the idea is if they want to not make that, dirty laundry archives value play because they're playing Vic and they have DreamNet, they have to run a central first. And the thing is with Glacier, you can't afford to make single access runs on central servers for a lot of the game. It just doesn't make sense. You can't run R&D for 6 credits to see a single card. You just don't have the money to do that. So you generally aren't running a lot and you have to make targeted runs. And MeliSQ is technically very good against targeted runs. Now, what I want to say about this ID, and I think there's going to be some growing pains here because learning how to play against this. One thing I really dislike as a runner against this identity, and I haven't played as this ever, and I think there's definitely something to enjoy there, is that one of my favorite things to do when I'm playing Criminal or even Anarch, and when I'm playing against like Jinteki Glacier, and if you played against Restoring Humanity in the last season, early pressure was an easy way to let them fall over a wee bit. They can't res all their stuff. They got 8 cost dice, right? If you run the wrong thing, they can't res, and then they can't do their remote server play with their Charlotte, and they just falls apart. They're good into early aggression. It's really hard to be aggressive into them early because I want to have these sort of incidental pokes I can take. But when my poke into R&D gives them back a sure gamble from the bin, I just feel like I have lost their early game. I'm at the point now, unless I can make 2 runs that make sense, or unless I'm going to run in a way they don't expect, I'm just not touching their stuff. I do think the runner meta seems like it is slowing down, but like the worst thing that I've possibly done against a Melias, and I've had some great games where I've always run the wrong thing and they get no credits for the first 5 turns. But then once they get that one big ice up on HQ and it's a true 50-50 between R&D that's ice and archives, I don't feel like the risk of them getting back a hedge fund or a seamless launch or a Charlotte or Anoetic Void or an agenda that you milled playing ESSA or from Seb ice destruction that really matters is worth risking this. Like the cost of calling it wrong is so hard that I'm scared to interact. Some of that's on me. Some of that's play skill. I do think I'm playing decks that struggle with dealing with big ice. And if you do go to that unfortunate like Doom rig, where now running HQ only costs 3 credits and R&D is only 2 credits, you can afford to make those runs. But the sort of decks I'm playing, I can't afford to make those runs for fun. So they can control and corral me into the wrong place at the wrong time. And interacting is very frustrating when it's backed up with some of the strongest recursion we've ever seen in a Netrunner identity.
Yeah, I think that's valid, and I don't want to dismiss them as like play skill. Like some of my warping is also like I've been playing primarily triple boomerang Baz.
Sure.
And so it's actually very hard for most early game Jinteki ice suites to make a server that isn't pokeable if I have it's the like if I really want to make an HQ run and I know that they know I want to make an HQ run, I can often set up so that I can make a somewhat cost-effective run on another central to try and defang so I get the maximum value out of some other swing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I do think, yeah, and it's like I think your point about like it is possible to get your early pressure completely reversed by a single bad run
Totally
is a feel bad. Like it is probably I would not be surprised if this is an ID that like ends up being something of a mistake. Right. I think that's quite a very possible path. I think there's probably going to be, as runners get better tuned and figure out, how much do you need to pressure early? If I wait 3 turns of not running centrals, that's basically giving them a hedge fund back, but I didn't have to spend a bunch of resources to guess wrong. Maybe that's actually the correct play,
and
right?
That's the other thing. It's like the mental game too is like, if they slowly get credits and I'm still setting up and doing my like, oh, I'm going to find my tungsten tailor and everything's going to fall apart at some point. If I make a mistake that I actively I feel bad. If they passively get economy, I can go to sleep at night real easy with myself. Like it feels awful to be like, I'm going to be aggressive. Oh, I ran. You got a hedge fund back or an anoetic void that I pinhold. Like, it's like, oh, like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a fair complaint. And I'm not like worried about this breaking stuff. Mostly, I think to some extent, I actually think Jinteki is not that great of a Glacier faction at the moment. It can do some really powerful stuff. It is a very reasonable Glacier include, but Jinteki Glacier to me feels more exploitable by runner deck choice and breaker choice than say Leo Glacier has historically.
But that's the thing. It's like the way I play against Leo Glacier, if I'm playing a Criminal Vic, is like I put my Dream Net down and I run as much as I can. Because firstly, their face checks are not bad. Barring Drafter, I can click through the bad stuff. And then they usually don't have the money to support it. But that's the thing is like, I can't do that same play pattern. That's my like run down Glacier in the early game until I like bridge a mid game. Just can't do it against Meliusio. And again, that's a me problem. Like I have to learn, but I found that to be deeply unpleasant.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like like, again, huge kudos. This is one of the most interesting identities that have ever been printed. And it's following up AUCO. And if you look at tournaments right now, obviously there's some novelty bias, but like this is showing up and it's actually performing relatively well. In fact, I would say quite good from what we've seen before, as much as AUCO also is, but is having very little representation comparatively. But like printing another Jinteki identity and making it relevant is like kind of really difficult. And I think they really did shoot their shot on this thing. This thing is nonsense. It has so much. There's so much. There's a lot. Like the case where they run the wrong thing and you have a blank identity is a board state that doesn't often happen.
I don't know. In my small sample size, it's actually happened quite a bit, but maybe that's just me being used to different play patterns or playing people that are not presenting as relevant. Like I had a game where it's like someone just like, they iced HQ, they iced R&D, left it on archives the whole game. And I just said, okay, if I just don't run archives, your credit is at best to restore, your ID is at best at restoring humanity, and at worst, worse than restoring humanity. And I can beat restoring humanity with most runner decks, right? Like if I understand that that's the game plan going in. And so I think that's it's a big adjustment. And I would not be shocked if I end up having to eat my own words and Meliusio ends up being like one of the defining decks of the format. And the disruption that it makes to the way that we have learned to play against Glacier is significant. And the frustration is very like, I don't want to just be like, oh, it's valid, like, therapy speak, but like, I do actually mean like, it's a reasonable thing to be like, I have learned this play pattern, this as the historic way you combat Glacier, and it doesn't work against this ID. And that is disruptive in a pretty fundamental and frustrating way.
Yeah. So it's not all, because like, honestly, I'm pretty excited about parts of this. Another thing that I think is really notable about this is like the matchups really change where you put the priority, right? Like ESSA on archives. If ESSA just runs archives without running another server, well, the agenda that you sabotage is going back to hand. Like there's some really weird stuff that happens. Notably, mind you, with this set, we lost Hoshiko and Sable. As much as Mark is random, those were identities that loved making that fun run on archives. And while we still have DreamNet Vic, which is what I've been playing and getting frustrated, it's kind of fascinating how against every identity this like really
join the Baz Cam.
I'm almost there, man, because I'm giving it a pick. I don't like the text box. Man, like I could see a world where this gets banned, but I agree with you. At the end of the day, as long as you can beat Jinteki Glacier, you can beat this, and like that's it. It's just like this is such a weird version of Jinteki Glacier that's attached to like this sort of like tempo disruption and recursion in a way that seems toxic, possibly, but it's up to the runner to make that not the case.
So,
here between, so for those listening, between faction staple between train and horse.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. You don't seem like that.
No.
Okay,
I think that's totally fine. I Yeah, there's a world where you can put this in archetype enabler instead, but I think faction staples totally is
This is
cromulent with
Jinteki
how we
Glacier
defined
now.
it.
Like,
So
this is the
Yeah.
new Ag Infusion. If you're playing Jake Glacier, I don't think you're playing Restoring Humanity. This is what you're doing.
yeah, actually, I think that's I just want to say as like a point of like, I would like if I could play Ag Infusion, I would play that over this idea in a heartbeat. Which I think is,
I don't know if I would, because I think you have all the
Yeah.
cards that Ag Infusion, like I think you can rebuild Ag Infusion's power on top of this very, very interesting ability.
I think the end the run effects were very easy to underrate in the Ag Infusion ID text.
Okay. Yeah. No, I know where you're coming at. Interesting. Let me play more Melee SU and I'll come back to you because I haven't played it once, I'll be honest. So next up, and honestly, I think I might have more problems with this card, and I don't think we're going to agree on this one.
I know exactly what you're going to complain
You know
about.
what's going to happen. You know my fears. It's Lotus Aids. It's a security agenda. It's a 4/2. When you score this agenda, place 3 agenda counters on it. That's a big number. Stop laughing. At a medium speed, you can use an agenda counter to move a resed upgrade to the root of another server. It doesn't have to be during a run. You can do this whenever you want, even for fun. I don't like this thing, man. This thing scares the heck out of me.
No, I'm sorry. You don't like Ganked.
Correct.
That's the card you don't like.
I don't like Ganked. I don't like Mitra. They are the worst things in the game. And this card, like, let's be honest, the use case for this is moving your Anoetic Void around infinitely. The fact that you can now dodge pinhole threadings by putting your upgrade in the server that pinhole is running is like kind of cute. Move the red room around. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I hate Ganked. I think Mitra is a mistake. And this card will allow you to play with all of them all the time. People aren't so far from what I've seen, but like, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. I guess. Okay, I almost want to have a discussion of this card
without
Ganked in the room, and a discussion of this card with Ganked not in the room, right?
Let's do that first. Let's start with Ganked outside of the room, okay?
Yeah. So I think with Ganked out of the room, we can still talk about your favorite villain of Mitra. Mitra is still, a powerful effect. It hasn't actually, Mitra seems to both of us like it should be a really powerful game warping effect, and it saw no play, basically.
I'll play a bit of it.
Okay, yes. Op played some amount of Mitra. I'm not convinced it was super real, but better op players than me disagreed, so you should listen to them. And like, I could see that being solid, but I think it's like, you're giving up a lot to Lotus to score a Lotus Haze. You're not scoring an off-world office. You're not scoring appropriate
negation, yeah.
Proprietary negation.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue there's decks where it's like, oh, I would rather score what's the Ashes 4/2? The draw 5, like draw
Flower
like,
Sermon?
Flower Sermon. Like, this is probably better than Flower Sermon, but it requires a specific board state to do a powerful thing, which is a little like that. It does a powerful enough thing where I think it's worth considering, and it's not just a blank 4/2, which is pretty cool. But this agenda doesn't really set off alarm bells for me because it requires you to be playing enough upgrades that can get value out of this movement effect.
What if you just played 3 Anoetic Void?
I mean, I think that's really solid.
I think that makes this better than Proprietary negation.
Proprietary negation still, like, using voids over and over again has a lot more cost than the proprietary negation counter, right?
But like, okay, say that you're playing against Jinteki Glacier. They have a bunch of res dice on the table. You're in the mid game. You have an Anoetic Void in the remote server. They have 5 cards in the hand. And let's talk about Melee SU, where maybe every once in a while they get an extra card back. So they're on a 6-card hand sometimes. How do you deal with that board state? Your answer is you have to either pinhole the thing. It doesn't work anymore. Or you have to run it down at an inopportune time when there's nothing in their remote server or anything like that. Those cases don't work. You can't do that anymore. And then on top of it, you're functionally playing a game where they have Anoetic Void on every server. You can no longer clean getaway archives. You can no longer transfer wealth. You can't make any impactful run events because if they think it's worth it, they just move their Anoetic Void to that server when and if they need it. Again, I do think these sort of problems get easier if you have a deck that's better at breaking ice. Obviously, like a big part of this is like, can you afford to spend 6 credits to get end the run versus 3 credits to end the run? That's a huge difference. But like, I honestly think Proprio Negation, they use it once, you're good. This is massive. This is 3 end the run effects as long as the Analytic Void is good. And I don't think it's hard to make Analytic Void good. Charlotte's drawing every turn.
Yeah. I mean, this is a good agenda. I'm not, it's not like I guess to me, I'm like, if I look at the other, like, it's not a Melia's luxury line to me. Like, this is a solid agenda. It does work really well with a bunch of cards, but this is not the card I'm like rushing to put in a deck, or that I'm saying, oh, this opens up a whole new play style, really like cranks up the power a ton. I think it might make some, like, probably the freelancers you play this end Proprio Negation.
Yeah.
And then your 5/3 of choice, be it Send a Message or Fuji, to like round out a suite.
I don't know. I think there's a chance you can play this and off-rolled, and like maybe at some point you play what's it called? Let Them Dreams. Like, I don't know what the agenda suite looks like. The 5/3 slots probably Send a Message. Anytime that this has been scored, it has messed up the game way more than a single Proprio token. Way more.
Yeah.
3 tokens is absurd.
Yeah. I mean, this is a solid agenda. I don't know.
I'm really scared of this. Again, maybe this is me like tilting to Jinteki Glacier for sure to some extent. I just think like the way that you beat Analytic Void is by running it down. They used to be able to protect it once, which was expensive with Proprio. Now you can just move it to an R&D and just say, I'm spending no cards. You can flush the remote server. Like, it's functionally then you're spending 2 Lotus Haze counters because you have to put the thing back. But like,
yeah, I think that's one of the things to me is like, oh, you get to do that trick once per Lotus Haze score, and the like, I'm gonna move my Analytic Void around to just end the run for fun. Analytic Void is expensive enough to fire. But I think that's not like, it's not free. I think there's gonna be like, there are 100% gonna be games where scoring the Lotus Haze as 0.4 is just actually the game winning lockout.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
I do think at some point it's game winning.
Yeah. But I guess to me, I'm like, cool. That's what a 4/2 in Jinteki that is supporting Glacier is supposed to do, right? Nisei Mark II, Proprio Negation, like those can achieve board states of the game's over because you let me get this through. And like your tolerance for that is going to vary. It's going to vary on the style of decks you're playing. Like, I guess I am not yet scared enough of Jinteki Glacier for me to go, them having an agenda that does that is a 3-alarm fire for me.
You know, I hear you. I hear you. It's good. It's very, very good. I think we're agreeing on that. Can we bring
I think it's this is definitely a card that I've gone up in estimation on since release.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And I'm assuming I will keep going up on it as long as Jinteki Glacier seems fine. And it does. Can we bring Ganked back into the room?
Yeah, we can bring Ganked back into the room.
Can NSG just ban it? We just get rid of it?
Yeah. But
doesn't make sense.
Ganked.
Get rid of Ganked.
Yeah,
it's a
get rid of Ganked.
Bad experience.
Yeah, it's just not a well.
It's free. Why is it free? Why is it free to trash? None of it makes sense.
Well, nothing. It's bad. It's bad.
Genuinely bad. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
Where does this go? It's like,
I think it's an archetype enabler.
Is it our first enabler?
Right. I think so.
Yeah.
Is it? Well, yeah. I don't know. Is it enabling? I guess so. It's like I think it is enabling.
Yeah.
I would say, oh, it's a role player, but I'm like, well, the only reason to be a role player, it's like if you didn't have Proprio Negation, this would be the enabler. And so it's like, okay, this functions equally well as an enabler as other cards that we've had in this thing. That doesn't bump it down from an enabler. It is enabling a Glacier Jinteki archetype.
I will go on record and call my shot that I think this is better than Proprio. Well, time will tell for sure. Because I don't even know how good Jinteki Glacier is if enough people tech for it, which like at some point that's a problem.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I guess I should say, one thing I will say, like the other thing as we're thinking about that Proprio Negation versus Lotus
Haze?
No, what is this called?
Lotus Haze.
Lotus Haze. Okay. Is that because you're required to have an upgrade down, like it is vulnerable. It is more vulnerable. It snowballs a little bit less if the owner is able to it has to. Sorry, it's more snowbally. Where if you're behind as the Corp, I would much rather score a Proprio Negation. Whereas if I score a Lotus Haze and the runner just trashed 2 of my analytic voids, I'm
Doesn't
quite
do anything.
sad. Right? Yeah.
I agree.
So.
I agree. I do think it's a much more swingy. And I think people are going to find themselves on the side to be like, how do they print this? 3 tokens is absurd. I cannot make 3 runs this game, as opposed to like when there's no upgrades and it does nothing. I think you're right about that. Yeah. All right. Another new card. I did not think we would see Archives Poison. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, this is Eska. I also did not think we were going to see Archives Poison. This is a 0 cost asset ambush, 1 influence, and 3 to trash out of the Jinteki. While the runner is accessing this asset in R&D, they must reveal it. When the runner accesses this asset, they lose 1 credit. If they are tagged, do 1 net damage.
Can we take a second to make fun of Safer? Because I think Safer showed up on a podcast like a month ago saying that like NSG will never print GameNet support. And then like half the set is GameNet support incidentally.
Very funny. It is. Yeah, I would say in Safer's slight defense, he did not actually he was involved in the creation of Vantage Point and the early part of testing, but did not finalize things. There sure is a lot of GameNet support in a set that NSG is insistent they will never print GameNet support. But I mean, some of that is just like lose a credit is just an effect that you want to print on Corp cards, right?
It's a fine effect. So this thing, you can have all 3 of them in archives. Checking archives is now a bit more expensive. The only archives poison we've had in the last modern format, outside of like Nightmare Archives, which only fires once, as much as that's impactful, is like putting a lot of garbage in there and then hoping that FUT makes that a scary run. This like does make it suck a bit more. I think for this card to be like absurd, you do need the tag clause. So Jinteki tags or Jinteki decks that want to tag you, those do exist. Whether you're putting a funhouse on archives and keeping your stuff safe in there to make it really expensive to check. I haven't seen that yet. I do think, and we went through the entirety to talk of Melias and never mentioned Regenesis, which I do think is like one of the big archetypes that enables kind of aggressively, because if they run archives, then it's your call. You can just like fix the agenda back to hand. I don't know. My guess is like in every AUCO deck, this slot could be something that's impacts your game more, like just does more to table.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like this card, just having a card in your deck that just says the runner loses a credit is actually not enough for a card. Like there's basically no card that has it's hard to think of a Corp deck that has been super excited about the runner loses 1 credit, maybe a little bit more if they have to keep touching the same card over and over again.
We're saying we had this card. It was called Honey Farm, I believe. It saw no play standard, but the game was wildly different.
Non-play.
For sure.
And it's like, I think you're right. It's like often if I'm trying to make like the obvious home for this would be something like Alco or like any of these kind of Regenesis decks. I think the biggest problem is like this card. If I'm a little bit behind at any point in the game and I mandatory draw, and this is what I draw, I'm not. It's just not going to be exciting.
Yeah,
it really isn't. Like the best use case I've heard of this is because it's 3 and honestly effectively 4 to trash.
Yep.
You can kind of do like the fully op flood the market thing out of Jinteki by putting this in a server, but it's like, yes, that is a use case for it. It is not to me. That's not a compelling use of the card. It's just this has a big butt, and that's why I'm including this in my deck.
Could I sell you on mutually assured destruction? Same problems, just a big butt, no tag.
Yeah, and I think it's like as runners get better and prepare for things, having no text and no tempo is such a bad quality to have in a card that you're going to top deck in games that matter.
And it's like abstractly nice that you can get this in the bin off of your draw from AUCO. Yeah, sure, that can happen. Could have been a petty cash. Could it have been a more impactful card? I think that's the case. When you do get 2 of these in archives on like turn 2, the game's a bit weird. That's for sure for the runner. But it doesn't seem like it does enough. Shock did way more than this because cards matter way more than 1 credit.
Exactly. And it's like, I would think it's like, I dumped 2 of these in archives. Well, if I'm a deck where running archives mattered, like without this, I would have put an ice on that remote on archives, right? And that ice probably would have cost the runner 1 to 2 to 3 credits anyway. But that was 1 card slot, and it could do other things versus this card, which basically does 1 thing.
Yep.
Maybe there's a world where you can disincentivize HQ multi-access by holding a couple of these, but I think Bite does a better version of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
If this was an upgrade, still don't know if I'd play it, but it'd be cooler. That's for sure.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think this is like this probably is a slots are hard card rather than binder.
Yeah,
where it's like, yeah, this has board states where it would be impactful. The other card probably shout out is like a Finutria on archives.
Anything that gives that tag clause.
Yeah.
Neat. So we have it right now. Bottom is slots are hard after retirement plan.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have a Jinteki card. This is one of the spoiler cards I had on the channel. It's Azam. It's a maze backwards, a mirrored maze. They cooked so hard. 1 cost, code gate, 3 strength. Has 2 subroutines. Look at the top card of R&D. You may add that card to the bottom of R&D. Shout out to Yagura back in the day. That was a good subroutine. And then it has a subroutine. Each piece of ice gets +1 strength for the remainder of this run. So it's a bit of a positional ice, as much as the first subroutine is also technically positional because it wants to usually be on R&D. That's where that's best served. As a click, you can swap this ice when it's res with another installed piece of ice. So not move, but swap. And this is not swap as install because both cards are on the table. So you're just spending a click to move ice around, which is a bit slow, a bit expensive. Jinteki positional ice, sometimes it's really good. In fact, sometimes it gets banned really quickly when it's too good. I think this card is meant to be a mix of Yagura and Tributary, which did get banned, rightfully so, it seems.
Fiddle Ring is probably the other card I would shout out.
Yeah, and like
it's trying to.
I do want to say one of the most important parts of both of those cards is as they were positional ice, they moved clicklessly. Being able to get this into the right place without spending any more time. So you can reposition your ice, you can reposition the Azam without spending clicks. I don't believe in this card at all.
Yeah, I definitely for a while was like, oh, there's probably this use case and that use case, and I've lost a lot of faith in that. I have a hard time saying this is truly a binder card to me, but because there's a part of me where I'm like, I could see, it does feel more like a 50th piece of ice to me than a 60th piece of ice. Maybe that's me being wrong. Because it's like, there's also, I want to at least shout out, Atea probably doesn't hate this ice because you can draw it late and it will still let you move things around. It does feel a little bit like it's harkening back. Yagura, I actually don't think would see any play at the moment. And this feels like it's trying to harken back to Yagura. And we're just not, that's not what Netrunner looks like these days.
And it's like,
and so this,
it's so weird because like Yagura showed up in decks that were ice light, right? Like you played Personal Evolution Traps back in the day. You put 1 ice on R&D. They had to find their breaker. You could hit with net damage as a relevant subroutine. But then this kind of looks like that, doesn't do net damage. But then it also has like text that kind of incentivizes you to put this on like a 4 ice remote server. And just to be also very clear, that subroutine that makes ice strength higher behind it, you don't have to break that if the breakpoints don't matter. So like that subroutine has to be good enough where it's cheaper to break this rather than breaking all the ice behind it. Like if this is in front of a Tattoo Bola, who cares, right? Like there's already so many weird fail cases where the breakpoints don't matter.
I do think the +1, I guess, we hyped up Tungsten Taylor quite a bit because we said the -1 strength matters in a lot of cases.
But then break this for 1 with a buzzsaw. Who cares? Like it doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah, it's so like if we're expecting a lot of buzzsaw, like this card looks really bad. And like we've been talking about how we're expecting some buzzsaw Tungsten Taylor to be a prominent force in the meta. And I kind of am like, could this have been strength 5? Like I almost like, this card doesn't have that much else going for it. Probably, just like we talked about Vertigo, like the strength on this ice seems too low for how often the modal case for this card is just not doing very much.
I have a soft spot for ice that has like mediocre effects but massive strength. It's just like such a nice use case to be like, that's annoying. I could break it if I really wanted to, but like I'll just let it fire. And you can just let this fire. There's a lot of board states you can. I don't know. I don't like
positional. This is
ice.
top up binder, not slots.
It's not slots. It's like also what deck wants to play this, because the idea behind this card is like, say you're playing Restoring Humanity Glacier, you want a cheap piece of ice in the mid game or the early game, so you don't get rushed down on centrals. But now you're playing Melee SU, and Melee SU already has, if you listen to me, that sort of like early game stink where people don't want to interact with you too easily. Like I don't even know if you need it. Code gates are. We got some good code gates in the set. They're 5 times as expensive, but I don't know. It's not doomed, but I would actually not even put it at the top of binder.
I might put it above Anvil 2.0.
You think?
Personally, but we can leave it. We can leave it below it.
I think people will pull out good old sharp hands Patrick when it really matters. Like there's a deck where like this is going to make the deck make sense. There is I can't see a deck that Azam makes sense in.
Okay.
I don't know. It just needed to do 1 net damage, and then it's a really good Ayuko card. But I have no doubt they were like concerned about that sort of thing.
Yeah, probably.
All right. Now, speaking of a good Codegate, this is another champ card from William Saka Huang, 2-time Worlds winner. This is not even from Worlds. This is from APAC Continentals. I don't think we do that anymore. Do you want to read this card?
That's correct.
Card's sick.
Yeah, sure. This is Knowledge Seeker. This is a 5-cost, 5-strength Codegate. That's a little bit unusual.
Yep.
Whenever an encounter with this ice ends, it is actually, let's start with the subroutines, and then I'll read the top text because it'll make more sense then.
Yeah.
So subroutine 1 is place 1 virus counter on this ice. Subroutine 2, look at the top 4 cards of R&D and arrange them in any order. Subroutine number 3, end the run. And then the text on this ice is, whenever an encounter with this ice ends, if it has 3 or more hosted virus counters, purge virus counters and derez this ice.
Cool. Numbers wise, this card probably should cost 6, maybe 7.
Yep.
It is cheaper because, it has this like built-in fail case where it can derez itself. So technically, if the runner is like really kind of willing, and this is the only ice on the server, you can just spend your whole turn getting this purged out. A really cool thing about this card too is that like I guess multiple copies, they don't really work amazingly well together, but it makes purging better for the corporation.
I would say they do work well together because the weakness it's the
one purges the other.
If you because one purges all of the other ones on the board.
Yeah, you're right.
And so there's I have played against this and I have done I'll bonk on this 3 times and drain the Corp 5 credits. But I've also done I'm going to start bonking this. I bonk into 1 and then they put an ice in front of it and I'm like, all right, I'll go somewhere else. Oh, I've hit the second one. Oh, if I bonk this one down, all of my bonking on the other one gets undone.
Yeah.
And so and that has been neat. And I think it's also, you're in Jinteki, a virus is a card you can run. You can actually kind of time walk the runner where they bonk, they go for the 3rd run. Oh, what's this virus I have here? Purge, and you've denied them quite a bit of value. And virus has other use cases in this meta, so it's not even the end of the world for you in those cases.
My math is actually wrong because, technically 7 costs, 6 costs of what you expect, but that first subroutine is actively bad for the corporation. So 6 to 5 is what you want, which makes this card really quite good. Notably, 5-strength Codegates is great. We talked about Buzzsaw Tungsten Tailor. That means you're going to break this for about 4 credits, which is the best you can ask for in that rig. And then if you look at things like Shibboleth, especially like late threat Shibboleth, oh my God, it's a nightmare. Even Unity is like a double boost usually. Like this card is just very, very good numbers. That second subroutine is also just very good. It's a good ass subroutine. Every corporation wants to have that agency. Like we talked about agency and that being an issue. If the subroutine fires, the corporation can now make the next 4 turns or next 2 turns make a fair bit more sense. And that's very good.
Yeah. That scoring a bacterial programming, getting ability 7 is a bit different from 4 and getting a draw. There's a lot of differences, but arranging and setting up the top cards of R&D, it's a very Sokka effect because you get to know if you are planning for 2, 3, 4 turns out, this is going to let you do that really, really well. And that's a very it's very skill testing thing to resolve.
Take notes, mind you. You're allowed to take notes in competitive play. I think maybe I want to say is the Codegate slot in Jinteki Glacier has been okay, but not, I would say, always amazing because most of the ice does not end the run. This is a very good on-rate end the run with a good face check. Like a TD and Vampronasa, they have their own place in like a Sisyphus deck, maybe more than this one does. But having a mid-range end the run, I would say does a lot for the Glacier archetype that couldn't always keep you out on just net damage alone. This is very, very important.
Yeah, I think so.
Card's good.
Does that put in enabler or role player, we think then?
I think it's a staple.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, up there with horse. Yeah, I guess that's true.
I think I like horse better because it's easier to play.
Yeah. I think because horse doesn't have a downside and is undercosted. This has a downside, so it's somewhat appropriately costed.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's I could even see a world where an Alco plays 1 or 2 copies of these because a high strength on the run Codegate is annoying. And the face check is relevant for Alco too. So.
Yeah. We're going to have another Ayuko ice in a second, but we did put that at the end of Faction Staple for now. So they do this thing where they every set, if we've been good, we get like a Liga art, and it's always been like really placed on a very strange card, like a deep net card, an important card, a wild effect. And like, I don't want to undersell Lion's Mane, which we'll talk about in a second. This is great Liga art. Obviously, Liga does great art.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is a Liga art. This does not feel like a Liga card to me. You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, I will say, so if you go back and read the Melius U fiction,
Yeah.
that's this card.
The Dream Eater thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I assumed it would tag me or like hurt me really bad. Okay, it's going to hurt you really bad. This is Lion's Mane. It's a 6-cost, 4-strength AP sentry. Has 3 subroutines. I would call this Karuna Plus. So do 2 net damage, then do 2 net damage unless the runner pays 3 credits, and then do 2 net damage unless the runner jacks out. So just like Karuna, which mind you translates to Mercy, this one usually on the face check does 2 net damage and 3 credits, which is a pretty good face check, it turns out.
Yeah.
Cards, good. Karuna sees like no play. It only sees play if Breaker Math hits the breakpoints on Karuna, which is like Carmen versus something else.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because it's like
It's not bad.
Gateway, like Karuna does actually have a good matchup, a decent matchup in the Carmen, where Carmen actually has to boost, right? And in a low power format, that's like the thing you need to clear. We're in a standard is a higher power format, but I actually think this probably does clear the line into playability.
It definitely does.
Quite a few decks, and like, yeah, Karuna Plus, but sometimes that plus is the thing that takes a card from unplayable to a strong consideration.
This thing is expensive to break for most breaker suites, especially early. 3 subroutines is good if you're trying to bypass this. You get this cheaper for Empiricist than Empiricist. Empiricist has like actually a similar face check. I think I just like the vibes on this card a bit more than Empiricist in general.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sold on this. It fires a Yuko, which is nice. It's 6 cost is like something you can res on almost all board states. 7 starts to feel expensive. It's weird how that is.
Yeah. It is true. I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a solid card.
Good.
Yeah. I mean,
Glacier plays
it's funny because I'm like, yeah, Glacier plays it.
More weak staple? Like low staple?
Yeah, I might put it even above Knowledge Seeker. I think we're going to see, because I think this supports kill, and I think we can still see this in Glacier.
I think you do see it in Glacier.
Right?
I just think Knowledge Seeker represents an end the run mid range code gate, which Jinteki hasn't had like this in such a, like, when's the last time they've ever had this?
Okay, that's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Like this is
it's been
functionally Fairchild 3.0.
Yeah. I was like, oh, what's the last Jinteki code gate? I remember like, well, DNA Tracker didn't end the run. It was so bad that you didn't like, you didn't eat that as the runner, right? Like, but
yeah.
No, I guess okay. I'll take that. I think that's a well-made argument.
Thank you. We'll reevaluate if we need to.
Yeah.
Last Jinteki Ice, Vic Sec. We had Vic. Now this is Vic Sec. 2 cost, 3 strength, trap, AP Observer. Trap means that you can't break this with your regular Decoder Fractor Killer package. Has 2 subroutines. Do X net damage and give the runner X tags. X is equal to the number of tags the runner has. And then a subroutine to give the runner 1 tag and then trash this ice. It's pretty common for traps to have like a one-time fire and then they trash themselves. And then really goofy flavor text. I don't know how they did that. They have technology. It's weird. 3 influence. It's some bees.
Yeah. This is a weird card.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think it's a fun. There was so much discussion. Like when there was a bunch, this card got spoiled with like 3 or 4 other cards on that day.
Yep.
And like you wouldn't know it if you watched the discussion. All the discussion was about Pick Sack.
Yeah.
And I think it's like it promises a really fun fantasy. It doesn't, like, Jinteki Tags has not been an archetype that has ever really done anything. Like Aoko, yes, did kill with tags, but that wasn't a Jinteki flat like tags deck. That was a strong Jinteki deck that splashed a bunch of kill pieces that happened to use tags, but that was incidental rather than the goal. Like it mostly didn't even run the Jinteki tag pieces. So this is a little bit like, this still feels a little bit like, oh, Jinteki Tags is not a real archetype, and so this ice kind of isn't real, but it's a really fun idea.
So like,
I think,
just so that we're all on the same page, we are saying if you have this and you're not giving the runner tags. Like say the runner's untagged, you should not res this to give the runner a tag for 2 credits on an ice. We're all agreeing on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bad ping at that point because it trashes itself, right?
So
and it's a bad ping where the runner does even have agency, right? If they're playing an Audrey deck, if they're playing Ficerums, like
they can break.
They can choose to break if they need to.
Yeah, I keep forgetting Ficerum is not. I always think of it as Codegate Sentry, but it's just not barrier, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one use case of this that I have seen or heard people talk about is giving the runner a lot of tags. So like mutually assured destruction, Oppo research, they don't clear the tags. And then there's another upcoming card we're talking about that allows you to res an ice if the runner's tagged and then fire one of its subroutines. So in theory, if you can give the runner like 7 tags, that first subroutine will do 6 net damage, which when it comes to Unleash, we'll talk about it in a second, is lethal. I have died to this before. I think it is like not consistent. But if you want to do Jinteki tags, like this is technically one of the punishments you can put in your deck. I'm assuming this is not the best punishment to put in your deck. Not the most consistent.
Yeah, it's when your sentence starts with, well, first you give the runner 7 tags and then this card pops off. It's like, okay. I mean, there should be if you can give the runner 7 tags consistently, your deck should have a way to pop off. Like that to me seems right.
And I don't think like you can play Mindscaping. Like you can do that. If your deck is giving 7 tags, you do not need to wait for this card.
Yeah, you can end the line Mindscaping just happily enough, right? So
I don't know. This one seems like a fun, weird one to play with, but I don't expect to see this anywhere really.
Yeah. There was a lot of, with Unleash, which we'll talk about in a minute, there's a lot of worries about combos. I think it's just like Unleash has some other combo safety valves that make me not particularly worried about it as a combo.
Down here in Binderland?
To me, I might put it right below Patrick instead.
Really? So you fear the combo?
I think the combo or the like value, like, Oppo, and then you take 3 extra tags. Like I could see that being the way you play it, not as like a combo piece, just as like a
Yuko.
Yeah, a tempo-y tag list could consider playing it. And like I could see a world where you splash into NBN. It's not a fun splash at 3 influence, but like it could happen. Okay.
I could see it. Yeah.
It's just I also like most of those other cards are really bad. Like I think this Vixsec is more real to me than Ezam.
Yeah, that might be fine. Yeah, I think Ezam is like more playable. I think Vixsec is only playable in a small subsection of boards and cards and decks. So I see where you're coming at though. All right. Cultivate. I think this is a 1 influence card. It's a good one at that. It's always nice to have nice cheap 1 influence cards. Cultivate, 0 cost operation. Look at the top 5 cards of R&D. Trash one of those cards. Add one of them to HQ and arrange the rest in any order. Look at 5, eat 1, destroy 1, put the 3 back. I've joked that when bacterial programming fires, you might as well just like go off to the cafeteria and go get a sandwich and come back. This is kind of feeling like that. Like that's a lot of cards to make a decision with. That being said, if you want agency, this is agency.
Yeah. I mean, this card is sick. It's funny because Corps have been like, we were seeing LEO decks like splash predictive planogram just because drawing in Corp agency was a thing you really, really wanted. Right.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, well, I have a hard time imagining that I would swap the planograms for the cultivates, but maybe that's wrong because this actually looking at 5 and drawing 1 and setting up the next 3 probably is more powerful in a kind of slower Glacier style list where you get a lot of control over where you're going to be weak over the next couple of turns. But at the same time, I have a hard time feeling like, oh man, I can't wait to slot this in my decks. It's not like a huge enabler. It is, it's a piece of grease or lubrication to make your deck go a little bit smoother. But that's actually a hard slot to include, I feel like, in a lot of Corp lists.
Yeah, there's some like cool interaction points that make this a bit nicer. Like in New Vang, you can set up the top trash and make it as a 2-credit econ play. That's cute. In AUCO, you don't get a counter, right? Because you trash from R&D, right? Not from HQ. That's how AUCO works. Yeah. But you can get things in archives, which sometimes you do care about that for certain Jinteki decks, right? Like Moonpool, Regenesis, sort of. Not really, but sort of.
Yeah.
yeah, I've found this to be a card like in Bangoon decks, like any decks that are a bit,
Yeah.
draw order dependent. And I also do want to say, and this is something I appreciate more and more by playing Epiphany and stuff like that, knowing the top of your deck is good, like really
Yeah.
damn way better than you think it is, especially if you're playing against Hermes, but just like knowing that server is safe, particularly if you're trying to win. Thick, very, very important.
Yeah. No, totally agree. I guess the question to me is, do you think this is a role player or a slots are hard card?
No, it definitely is worth slots. I think this card is definitely worth slots. You know how some decks were like Jinteki Glacier just playing Mindscaping as like a card you can play? This
That's
feels
true,
like that
yeah,
to me, but better.
Okay. That's interesting because, as someone was like, oh, you would play Mindscape because it also set up your credits. But I think you're right that like actually setting up your next 3 turns is probably better than the 2 credits you're going to get from Mindscaping.
Yeah, I think so. And then knowing the top of the deck, you can trash the card you don't want to see anyways. Like just so much value in it. It's not credits, but it'll set you up into consistency. I think like this card is actually going to maybe see more play. It's like a nice card. Like, the decks that played Sprint.
Yeah.
I think Sprint was one influence. Like this feels like that, but more healthy.
Yeah, that's true. So right now you've put an archetype role player between Caveat and Tor and Reverb.
I'm still waiting for you to say a playtest name on accident. I shouldn't correct you as quickly, just so that maybe it comes through. I live for those, but we'll get there.
We're actually we didn't talk about this on the top that like, I've playtest. I playtested this set for about half of it and then just dropped off the face of the planet. And so I'm actually excited. Next set, I may have done 0 playtesting of cards or like small n number of playtest games. So
what about if this set comes out and it's like amazing? Are you going to feel bad about that sentence?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
People will know I'm the villain of Netrunner then.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. Wait, he didn't touch this at all. 0 cost operation. It's gray ops, which mind you, that tag does matter for the set. As an additional cost to play this operation, you have to remove a tag. We talked about Jinteki tags. Red's an installed piece of ice, ignoring all costs. You may resolve 1 subroutine on that ice. It's 2 influence, so you can splash this. Has great art from Cat. Cat does great stuff. I had this as a spoiler card, and I'll be honest, like, Gift Horse and all that. I really don't like the Jinteki tag archetype at all, because it seems like they have no good way consistently to give tags, but then if you incidentally take tags, it's just kind of cursed. Because if they are, playing Mindscaping, I guess you just die, but it's like not now, it's maybe later. Anyways, this card I think has more use cases though, and is a card that you will splash.
Did you see Sanjay's deck list?
Yeah. What the heck? It's like Sanjay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Sanjay. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, and maybe now make Andre do the extra work of finding that deck list and putting it in the description. He was playing all 6 copies of a 4/2 that gives the runner a tag on score, so that he could, with the combination of I forget actually if it had Seamless in it, but Lacosta as the primary token generator. You could score a 4/2 with a click left to then unleash and then just play big, nasty Jinteki ice. It wasn't looking to do flatline. Yeah, tier. It wasn't looking to really do like flatline combos. It was just like, I'll score a 4/2. It will give the runner an annoying tag, and then I will get to get some big value ice and some big swingy effects on the
like unsell to trash stuff too. Like it had mean subroutines.
Yeah. It was doing like impactful stuff, but it was like, we talked about Vixec, like there was a lot of discussion of Unleash as combo kill, and it felt more like value Unleash, which I think is kind of interesting. I'll give some credit to being interesting for.
Yeah, so. that deck won that tournament. There was great players playing there, Sanjay included, but it was like very, very interesting take to be like, we're going to look at this, not as a combo card, but as a tempo tool. Very cool idea. I do think like you're going to see this in other weird places, like give core damage, distribute a trace into Unleash, get a tier 2 core damage. Like that's fine. It turns on the game. I think this is sort of the Netrunner. Like Jeff, I know you don't like the sentence. Resolve a subroutine. Yeah. I don't like that sentence.
No. I will say, I will say, despite me talking about, this deck was really cool. Like genuine, like this effect has showed up a lot in many playtest versions, and I have campaigned very, very strongly that I just don't like this effect. I think like part of the point of ice is that it is interactive, and just saying, nope, not interactive anymore. So when we put a scary thing on an ice that we never expected to fire, now it does. Right.
Yeah, and it's weird.
Yeah, I don't love that as design space. Hopefully this card's not particularly good, but Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'll see it more than you think it will. Which, like, whatever that sentence means. But I do think like this is actually worth pursuing enough. I don't know. I don't think you're playing like, I'm assuming you're not playing Public Trail to Unleash in like Jinteki Glacier.
Yeah.
I hope you're not. But I do think there are be decks that will care about this. Notably too, when it comes to kill combos, like if somebody eats an Oppo Research, you're probably more consistent to play Mindscaping or Mindscaping End the Line more actively. But what's interesting is that you can save influence on the right board states and spend no End the Line influence and just do Mindscaping Unleash on the right board state. That is actually interesting that you can save 8 influence off of a Weyland kill piece, and as much as you have way less consistency.
Yeah, because the ice has to be unres. That actually is an important thing. You cannot choose a piece of ice that's already res to then go and get this effect. So I guess to me, this isn't probably an archetype enabler. Like this enables a Jinteki tag archetype. I don't think it's particularly strong. So it's actually a funny case where like I would say several of the role players are stronger than this card.
Or at least more consistent.
Yeah,
but it is an
enabling in a way that none of those pieces are.
Yeah. So. And just to be clear, the difference between an enabler and a card that's in like slots or binder is that we believe this archetype competitively is worth pursuing to some extent.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a big
difference. That's a good point.
All right. Last card here for Jinteki, and the last spoilers card. I got a whole bunch of Jinteki cards just a month ago or so. The Red Room, unique. Lot of text on this one. Facility doesn't matter. Central server only. 1 cost, 3 trash, 3 influence. It says the first time each turn an agenda is either scored or stolen, you get to put a power counter, on the Red Room. Then you can spend a hosted power counter at instant speed to end the run, but that can only be used on servers that don't have the Red Room. So in short, the Red Room can never protect itself. In context of 2 other cards like Lotus Haze, where you can move this out of the way, you still can only put it on central servers, but you can move into the wrong central server. And in context where Melius U has different incentives to running each server, you can make it harder where, you could run the Red Room, but maybe I'll get a card from Archives back, which is equivalent. So interesting. Jinteki right now doesn't seem like it needs more defensive upgrades, I'll be honest. While we have Anoetic Void, which is the gold standard, and you even have Adrian Seiss, which is like good to find. This is an interesting piece because it has a bigger butt. It's in central, so you're kind of offshoring your remote protection, which has some upsides and some downsides. But it is a card that is actually quite fascinating. And I don't think it's going to be months until we figure out where this actually belongs.
Yeah, I think this to me is the card I'm like, I really hope this sees some play. Yeah. Because I think it's one of the most interesting designs for playing with different tension and changing the shape of games more than others. Like the traditional Glacier scoring pattern is like my remote matters, and I just am trying to make my centrals like just expensive enough so that single accessing isn't good anymore. And that's after I've done that, that's the end of what like the whole game might as well just be remote and like nothing else. And the Red Room says, what if you could like, can we change that flow of play and that dynamic and make a central actually really essential and interesting? And like, I could see that backfiring. Like, I don't think Earth Station is actually a good home for the Red Room, but you could imagine a deck that's just like, you're never running Central X and Red Room. So now I don't even need to build a scoring remote. I can put a pittance remote up in Red Room, bop, bop, bop. But I don't think that's too likely. That said, like, I don't know. I guess I will stop there for now so that you can actually talk. But like, I think I'm hoping this card does find a home because it looks like it'll do interesting things to the game.
I totally agree that this is one of the most interesting defensive pieces we've ever seen. It's definitely not BioVault, which is something that I think a lot of people wanted. And then on top of that, like the cool point of this is like it needs agendas. So if you're only playing like, 6 agenda Restoring Humanity, Hyperglacier, or BTL, like this doesn't make any sense, seemingly. I'm assuming we're not wrong on that. So you want to place less agendas. Sorry. You want to play more smaller agendas and go jammier and faster. I also think like this in like a tempo deck or horizontal deck, like having something on centrals you have to trash as like another weird thing in AUCO. So you can use this to protect your agendas or your FUT, or you're scoring out quickly hybrid releases that are easy to score. And then you have these other scoring forward tempo triggers. Like that's fascinating to me. And 3 cost, trash cost is like, it's good for modern meta. That's actually pretty high.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's like, oh, if I have a Lion's Mane on HQ as Alco and a Red Room in HQ, like that's a pretty annoying problem for the runner to solve.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of interesting. And I will say I have used the red room a little bit just at a casual meetup, but was pretty impressed by it out of ob.
Yeah.
Which, not shocking, but the ability to like as if a 2 cost, get a red room in play, it then gets the counter in time. And of course, in Weyland, you have both Afshar and Winchester to make HQ really not cost effective. And what I got to see was like, yeah, you know what? I actually never fired the Red Room's hosted power counter ability, but the runners had to spend 2 to 3 clicks setting up just to defang my Red Room, which then meant they couldn't actually go and contest the scoring or whether I was going to score out. So like it made that fork happen in a way that like really worked for my deck. And I think that's the pattern I'm hoping to see. I think it's quite achievable, not just out of ob, but I hope more generally out of a couple of like decks that want to be playing a little more tempo and a little more aggressively.
And like we're only going to get this card as the last card in the set, but like Let Them Dream has this play pattern with La Costa where you score out an agenda with clicks left, you grab the next agenda and you jam it, which is exactly the perfect time for the red room, where like you get the counter this turn and then you present a problem the next turn. So the runner has to act now either to deal with the problem or the remote server. And that's like exactly what you want. Like very, very cool with La Costa because you can generally score 2 agendas in a row, whether you grab one or you just have one naturally. Card's neat. It's not as good as Anoetic Void. Like if I could only have one, I would always get Anoetic Void.
You say that and I'm like, I would be interested, and I suspect I suspect this is an incorrect desire, but I'd be really interested to see what like an LEO list that says, yeah, you can either go after my remote that has Tranquility Home Grid, my Regulus, like you have to go and defang that remote, and then I just have a red room behind a brand on HQ, and like probably I only get 2 or 3 triggers, but I also have my ID. Like I have this like end the run like unconditional, and the run effects do kind of have a like stacking effect where they kind of like they allow you to at a certain point say, yeah, you're in checkmate because you don't have enough clicks left.
Yeah, and then this also protects R&D, which is cool on like the turn where it really matters. Or like they fire you to take a tag.
Yeah. And also, unlike Anoetic Void, this does self-protect to some degree against pinhole threading because pinhole threading is going to be on a different server. So you get to red room you can spend a red room counter to protect your red room from a pinhole. Or in an outco, it's like, oh yeah, they're going after my foot. Great, I can protect it with a red room counter if they're pinhole or something like that.
Yeah. Super neat card. Very neat.
Very neat.
It's an enabler. I think it goes perfectly maybe in the middle of our Jinteki enabler row.
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna say we could probably put it in role player if we want to be a little more.
Yeah, I think you're right. If the archetype exists without, I don't think this.
Yeah.
Left or right of Caveat Emptor?
I was going to say right of Caveat Emptor for sure.
Okay, so the middle of the role player right now.
Yeah, so the right of Caveat Emptor is the left of Cultivate.
Cool. That's our Jinteki cards. It does look like everything was really targeted towards Jinteki Glacier, which with Melee SU, it seems like a flexible identity. But like we didn't get obvious AUCO support, barring like Lion's Bane being net damage and good. But yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely a shift. Again, we talked about scoring corps, and all of these seem to be very fundamentally scoring cards, besides like the tag combo stuff.
Yeah. And we're obviously rating all of the non-scoring stuff pretty poorly. But that's our bias play. I also think that's probably, well, I would assume it's intentional that like, if we're trying to help scoring corps, you don't want to give people that don't like scoring corps nothing, but you maybe say, if our focus is scoring corps, let's not try and juice the other stuff too much.
Yeah. Okay, so let's switch gears. We have some NBN cards. Mind you, NBN was largely kind of dunked on for the last little while. Won Worlds. There's some good NBN deck, or maybe decks even, but NBN does just do that. So we do get a new identity. 4515 Ad Nihilum, it's editorial division. It says the first time each turn you take a bad publicity, you may search R&D for a non-agenda, Black Ops, Gray Ops, or Liability card and reveal it. You shuffle R&D. Then you add that card to HQ. Flavor text says it never happened. It is worth saying off the top if you're tuning in, liability cards used to be called illicit as a subtype that has now been removed from the game and replaced with liability. So while you'll see some liability cards in this set, just about all the cards back in the day that have illicit on them have been errata to say liability. So like your, your boreholes, your trebuchets, stuff like that.
Yeah, I will say like that was my initial impression of it too. Jamie did actually make a good point. There was a bunch of cards that did get bad publicity that were not illicit.
Yeah.
And so it's just doing some some intentional like reconciliation. Of course, the best example of that is hostile takeover, which is wouldn't actually matter for this ID because it says this ID says non-agenda.
Oh, hostile is
but
not illicit. You're allowed to do that.
yeah,
Cool. So what do you think about this? It is also worth noting that bad publicity had some minor, I would say actually kind of not insignificant mechanical changes, where now bad publicity
Yeah.
credits, as soon as the set has come out, they don't count as being in your credit pool anymore. So it used to be just a credit you got at the start of every run. If you didn't spend it, it was returned. If you did spend it, that's fine. But the idea is that any ice that makes you lose credits or checks the amount of credits in your credit pool no longer counts bad publicity. That matters, I think, the most for a card called Valenchow and slightly a card called Afshar, but Valenchow more often because it has a bad publicity giver on it. And it cares not only about losing credits, but about credit totals, like your credit pool versus the corporations. And I think significantly that impacts bad publicity decks positively. That's a really, really big change for a couple niche bad publicity cards, but does really matter. So the archetype is slightly different than it was just a couple weeks ago.
I think that's true. I do think like bad publicity is so bad for the Corp that making it like a little bit less bad for, let's say, 3 ice white space is also a case where it matters. Like I don't think it's enough to warp everything. I think it's fine. Like it's very reasonable for people to be a little bit annoyed about the change, but I think as a whole, it also matches how everyone I've ever seen plays bad publicity, where you have a bad publicity token you put next to your credit pool and you flip that. Like no one ever like, all right, my run begins. Let me grab 2 credits from my collection, put them back in, and then remember whether or not I've spent these at the end of the run. But
I think it's probably for the best.
And anyway, philosophy of redesigning a game that's active, that's like ongoing aside. This ID, I mean, like it is pretty. The only other like search effect in Netrunner is Ob, which is a card that like I love, but I would say is one of the most polarizing cards ever printed. I think maybe not. Well, okay,
no, but
it's maybe not that high on the list, but like
people
it's
like
probably in the top. Yeah, I mean, I was also thinking like Caprice Nice and like there's some all-timer polarizing cards, Scorched Earth, closed accounts. Yeah, there's a list of Siphon. Yeah, there's a list of quite polarizing cards, and Ob is the one that people talk about now. I think in part because there's not that many hyper polarizing cards at the moment,
and it's doing well,
and it generally has been doing well, and like unlimited, a tutor effect is why Ob is so discussed, right? And this is a very, the thing is, this is a bigger downside in many cases to have a bad publicity rather than just trashing a Corp card, right?
Yeah,
I would say. And it also doesn't like actively do a tempo, it just puts it into your hand. So like it is much more conservative. It is working with a mechanic that has less mechanical tie-in. Corp cards trashing themselves is just like a thing that has a lot of different hooks and stuff. So it's a narrower mechanic.
It's also
that said,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say also it's worth noting that NBN has no inherent bad publicity payoffs, where Weyland does. Weyland has an agenda suite that gets better with bad publicity. You can't play it for obvious reasons, but like NBN just has a bunch of cards that give and remove bad publicity, but nothing else works with it besides maybe having more credits than your opponent.
That said, I think like the holistic package, which we're going to talk about component by component, I think makes a fairly interesting deck. Maybe not the most, it's not going to be like the highest variety deck. It's maybe not going to be the most competitively consistent deck, but a lot of people have asked for super modernism to come back. And I think it's interesting to see, to me, this deck's like best performances or best kind of shape I've seen so far is a sort of super modernism style. Like I'm going to go fast. I'm going to do things that are typically bad, but we're going to find a way to like put the runner in hard situations quickly and frequently and see if we can make that work.
Yeah. I haven't been a big fan of this as much as I love just saying the word modernism in 2026 to confuse people at this point. But like there's 2 paths that we have to go down here. One path is that you get bad publicity, you get a cool card draw. And we haven't even talked about the gray ops liabilities or black ops cards. They're usually cards that punish the runner. Think things like retribution, public trail, oppo research, distributed tracing, the bad things, right? The things that runners don't love to happen. So that's nice. There's some economy cards. We'll talk about Vulture Fund. That one's really important. But one idea is that you run this like on rate, not even on rate. You run this like good ice, mean ice, maybe we can say, and you run explosive economy, and then you remove the bad publicity, right? I haven't seen enough of this. We got some bad pub removal in here. NBN classically has some bad pub removal. There's some pretty stodgy Weyland bad publicity you can import. And then you play some sort of mid-range Glacier, which, mind you, NBN has not supported mid-range Glacier seemingly for the last like 2-3 years or whatever it's been. So you could try it. I don't know if it works. I haven't tried it. The other way is the fast and loose version. And, maybe this will change because right now it looks like a lot of people took their like run all the time decks with the Vic Dreamnet decks and like Hoshiko changed to something else decks. They want to be running a lot. And when you're running a lot, you get a lot of value from bad publicity, whether it's Arasana or Baz or Vic with Dreamnet. Like giving bad publicity to the runner is bad. And if you can't win and you give the runner 4 to 5 bad publicity, scoop. It is awful.
Yeah.
It is so bad. Bad publicity right now has felt way worse than I remember scoring a hostile in turn 1 10 years ago. I don't know why exactly that is, but like you could win games where you score a hostile on turn 1. It feels like you give 2 bad publicity and you're not like have the nice line directly to an oppo fork. The game's cooked. Like it is a very, very high cost. I think I also want to complain a bit is that there's a bunch of bad publicity cards that like you want to play in this deck. Supposedly like Valenchow is really good. Piranhas, maybe Trebuchet. Those cards were classically played when we had the outfit, and the outfit gave you 3 credits on refund when you resed these cards. And now resing a Trebuchet for what is it, 7 credits? Is very expensive. Even resing a Valenchow for 5 and then still asking to be ahead on credits. If you do not open Vulture Fund, let alone a card that allows you to play the Vulture Fund on turn 1, you're cooked. Like the ice is really, really expensive. So many parts of this have felt miserable. And if you do not draw perfectly, you do not have a game plan, because if you don't win by turn 6, you lose immediately. At least if you're modernisming it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say like that my enjoyment of this is more conceptual than I've tried to build this myself.
I've been thinking about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to go to, I agree. Taking bad publicity is really, really, really bad.
It's bad.
And so I'm not shocked that this idea is probably not particularly competitive. And I think putting this in binder is totally reasonable. I think the fact that it can tutor suggests to me that like some point I feel like this should do something interesting, but I could also say with the card pool we have now, I'm not shocked that it doesn't feel like it will. But
what's frustrating with this is like this tutor is good. It just like creates these really annoying linear game plans where it's like, okay, they open Vulture Fund. What are they going to do? They'll grab their second Vulture Fund. Okay, now they're going to put their agenda on the table. What are they going to grab when they play their second Vulture Fund? Oppo Research. And like, I don't know why we're trying to rush to that where we make every single game opening the same if they draw well. Like that just fundamentally doesn't seem interesting. And then you face check the remote server and it's going to be one of these 3 ice because those are the bad publicity ice. Obviously, like more interesting design will, maybe circumvent expectations and do something cool with that. But it's like no part of this makes me happy.
I guess so. I'm not going to say that you should that should make you happy. I will say, I think in general, like giving Corps a bit more consistency and smoothing is probably a good thing overall, because there are so many Corp games where it's just like, oh yeah, I needed to draw this and I had no way to actually make that draw happen, and so I lost.
Yeah.
Now, is this the right approach to that? Is this is the cost worth is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, maybe not, and maybe the very a tutor is a very strict way to enforce consistency, right?
Yeah.
It is basically as consistent as you could possibly be, and so that's a tricky lever to play with.
We'll talk about cards like Luana and Nihilo Agent coming up. I think there's something neat there where like you get your bad publicity, but you always offshore it with Luana, and then you get this econ value, and then you don't have to suffer the downside of bad publicity. I think it's neat. There might be something to it that needs to be played more. And also, I'm also scared of the deck that just like public trail retributions all the time. Like just that's all you do. Just do that over and over and over again to the runner survive. Like that's not gonna be fun.
And maybe the Nihilo Agent, like we dance a little bit of bad publicity. Maybe we throw an increased drop rates in archives, and it actually becomes a card for the first time in Netrunner history.
Yeah,
becomes a thing.
And I want to be clear: there's a bad publicity removal card. I am one of those people that has this belief for some reason that bad publicity should never be removed. It should not be allowed in Netrunner. It was a cost that you spent here, and slowing the game down to remove this just has never been fun in the history of Netrunner. We've had some like witness tampering and some really bad publicity removal, and it's always been like just slow poison. I don't like this, man. What do you think? I'm like, I want to binder it, but it's out of principle, not out of reality.
I think it's okay to put in the binder. I think this is an interesting idea to play with, but I would be pretty surprised if this became a competitive staple. Because even if it became good, it would be, or like even if it was quote unquote strong, it is extremely linear.
Yeah.
And linear corp decks need to be so over curve to have a shot, because runners can just adapt to your linear game plan, right?
And like, this can win events. I do think there are some players that can play this and just draw out the really nice line over and over again and take games off of players they might think they don't deserve to take games off of. Like, this can give you that. So sometimes it might be the right thing to bring to a tournament. But there's a lot of questions.
Okay, if we're going to make that argument, I feel like we got to put it in slots are hard.
Yeah, okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah. Top?
Yeah, I think top of slots are hard is better than top of binder for this.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Especially because as we talk about some of the other cards in here, I'm like,
there's some good cards.
Putting them all in binder feels a little bit suspect to me.
Yeah, I agree.
So
this is a liability agenda. It's a 4/2. Got some good art. It says when this agenda is scored or stolen, take a bad publicity. So you can fire your ability as much as you can search for a witch hunt. The witch hunt can get the punishment, which is relevant because there's a bunch of punishment that says that an agenda has been scored or stolen. That's cute. It says when your action phase ends, if you scored this, you clear all tags from the runner and give them 3 tags. So a mini oppo research that doesn't care about threat. 3 tags is a lot. What gets to this really ugly dance that I'm not sure I love is if there's a card in the remote server, you have to kind of play this 50-50. If it's a crypto crash, you want to spend all your money. If it's a witch hunt, you need to have your money to clear the tags. And I don't know if we've seen that sort of like direct, Yomi, go high, go low in 2 agendas that will show up in the same deck ever in the history. And I'm not there for it. You call that wrong, you lose the game, it feels.
Or just like beyond 15 credits. So you don't care that much about losing 7 and you clear the witch hunt.
Yeah, that's the best case really, for sure.
It's right. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's fine to dislike that Yomi. I should stop giving you permission to dislike things that I don't dislike. I don't know. I think this agenda, like the downside on this agenda being stolen is pretty rough. Like, yes, obviously when you could tutor an oppo, that's great. But if you're tutoring a small oppo, boy, is that not worth it. You really want to be tutoring a big oppo for witch hunt for you to be okay with taking a bad publicity for the runner hitting 2 points.
Yeah, I'm guessing like we both agree that this is probably not a consideration in Epiphany or horizontal NBN decks, because giving a bad publicity to the runner is one of the worst things you can do when it functionally, lowers the trash cost of every card in your deck forever, as much as NBN does have bad publicity removal. Scoring this would be good in the deck, that's for sure. It's just, that's such a high cost.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is the art on this is a really nice allegorical shot. The score effect is cool, but yeah, it's tricky to feel. I mean, it is by definition it's an Epiphany only card, or editorial only card.
Yep.
Just because that bad publicity is so backbreaking on Steel,
and that's maybe not the best cart to attach your horse to, but like if one works, they both work. Is what I guess I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Right behind it in slots.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, ahead of retirement, I think is fair.
All right. Next card. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, sure. Oh, no, I don't. Never mind. I bail out. I
didn't realize it was the name. Okay, I'll say the name. Magistrate Revanchulate. This is a Finnish word. Revanchulate means like the Aurora Borealis. It's quite a nice name.
Okay, cool.
That's really funny though.
This is a 2-cost asset executive. It is 4 influence and 3 to trash. So despite what the art might imply, this has a fairly big butt. As an additional cost to steal an agenda, the runner must pay 3 credits. And then whenever you score an agenda, the runner loses 3 credits.
This card, I have played it.
Oh, no, I mean, this is an effect that I feel like a lot of asset NBN decks and maybe even not NBN decks have been missing, for lack of a better word. Like this is an archetype defining effect, right?
Yeah, we've seen a couple cards like this. So classically, Amani Sanai was something worth building a deck over. I think this is more healthy than Amani Sanai in some ways. But the big difference between the Magistrate and Amani is that if the runner doesn't have money, they can't win the game. That's incredible. Because you can end up in a lot of board states with NBN where like they're tagged to shit, they don't got money, and they can just still say like, send it. Your VSAs don't work. Maybe there's a B1001.
Yeah.
That's like the complicating thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like classically the NBN like folded, like NBN relied on Bologna to handle that problem of like, yeah, you don't have any money, but my ice actually doesn't care if you have money or not. You will just get in. And so runners would just like Hail Mary, rip the, steal 5 points in a turn because NBN couldn't actually score that aggressively and whatever. And this says, no, you actually have to have money. All of my agendas are mini Bolognas. And like, yes, there are cases where it's actually a downside that you can't just force the runner to steal your Oracle think tanks, for example.
Stinky.
But at the same time, it's like, well, honestly, like, I don't even know that means you can't put an Oracle think tank in a Magistrate deck because, the runner will like.
Now you want to score.
If they touch it, and as a Magistrate, they're like, oh well, I'm either going to lose 3 or pay 3 to steal this.
Yeah.
Both of those are bad options, so they have to pick one, right? And probably making the Corp score it is the better option, but not universal. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird,
and it depends on the situational. I think Amani Sanai was interesting. It's like if you were trying to build an engine deck or a deck that was built around an expensive central piece, Amani Sanai just said, no, you don't get to do that, right? And this is not going to have that level of you just don't get to play the centerpiece of your deck. Yeah, but this card does just let you, does enable NBN to make the credit tax and the credit differential matter in a way that they were not able to outside of Oppo researches. So,
I've liked it. Put it on the table. Runner has to trash it. You get your Epiphany counters. They don't trash it. You get your 10 credit crypto crash. That's the dream. This card is just very, very, very good. You don't have to res it until it does anything. In theory, you can res it when they're running centrals. If you do or don't know, there's an agenda there, and then it's already worth it's their weight in gold. Card sick, really good. Asset NBN, One Worlds. I don't think it needed this card, but it likes it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Is this top of archetype enabler?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's also so much easier to play than Lotus Ace. Like, just put on the table, you're done. You're good.
Yeah.
Card's good, man. I had so much fun with that card last I played Epiphany. So good.
Cool.
All right, next up, we have the Nihilo Agent. This one is not unique. 1 cost, 3 trash, 2 influence. Oh my God, there's so much text on this. It's such a goofy card. So it's a liability and an enforcer. So you can grab this, and this actually really matters in editorial because it can fire editorial a fair bit. It says when you res this asset, put 3 power counters on it. When it's empty, you trash it. When your turn begins, you remove a tag and a bad publicity. It'll do as much as it can. If you can't do either, it won't do either. But when your discard phase ends, you give the runner a tag, but you take a bad publicity and you remove a hosted power counter. Art is great. Flavor text is really good too. This card functionally does nothing, like literally does nothing. It just tries to keep the board state the same as it was, depending on when you res it. And yet it's still one of the most fascinating cards in the set. Just sick design. I'm such a big fan of this.
Yeah, this is a neat design. And I think it's like, I initially was like, oh, okay, this only ever goes in my editorial division, and so it is going to but maybe editorial division doesn't even need it, so like a little bit meh, and then it's like, oh no, this actually, I mean, NBN interacting with tag gaining and removal means it can go in some other decks.
I played a bit of this in Synapse.
Synapse,
and Synapse is sick. They don't trash it. You got to clickless install on your turn, and that really matters for some NBN horizontal archetypes.
Yeah. And I think the runner, the dilemma this presents to the runner, I think is pretty interesting. I do think, like most Punisher effects, that makes it probably not the strongest card.
Yeah.
But if the runner feels like they have to go and trash this, well, then they not only are they spending a click and 3 credits to trash this, they then also have to go and remove their own tag while opening themselves up to Oppo research.
Yeah.
The reward for doing all of that, of course, is they get a bad publicity, which is a big reward. But paying 2 clicks and 5 credits for a bad publicity, well, now we're starting to look into mining accident territory, and you had less agency, and I don't know.
Yeah, I felt this to be like both in some board states of Synapse to be the most important card, But then you're right. If you cannot sufficiently protect it and they feel like they can take it down, it is nearly game losing. As much as the second and third Nihilo can maybe help you with the bad publicity of the first one. Really interesting. The fact that, again, this just fires editorial over and over again without going plus bad publicity is most definitely worth a lot. As much as I'm trying to think of what kind of cards you're grabbing from this turn after turn after turn, like how many oppos do you need? How many vulture funds do you have? But it is definitely an interesting, weird piece. I don't think this is an epiphany piece. I don't know if we have enough, like, that sort of, what was it called? That NBN identity that cared about the tag Acme. Like, we don't have enough Acme tag ice that interacts with if the runner's tagged while they're running. Like, I think we just have capacitor, and there's probably one or two more, like F2P, that sort of text. Like, there's not enough ways to punish the board state where the runner is like wants to run with a tag as much as B1001 works. So it's like a bit fiddly and probably is like quintessentially the 50th card in those lists, but you could do cool stuff with it. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, this is, it feels like there's all of these editorial division cards feel like there's like, oh, these are interesting designs, but probably just not really competitively there.
Yeah. I like it a lot though. Middle slots.
Yeah. I think I like it more than Witch Hunt.
Yeah, I could see that. It's more flexible than Witch Hunt, which I think does help it. Honestly, maybe above editorial.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, I think
maybe.
I think because that use case outside of editorial and probably is where a lot of the power of editorial will end up being. Because I do think the like YOLO, I have 5 bad pub probably doesn't make sense in NBN.
Yeah, it's really bad.
So like doing the Annihilation is more likely to be the thing that powers editorial rather than the other way around.
Okay. We have another bad publicity card though, and this one, I think can show up in a bunch of places. It's Grubber.
Yeah.
Liability barrier, 5 strength, 5 cost. That's not bad. 2 subroutines. They're both the these are the same subroutines on Gold Farmer. That card got banned, right? And they run unless the runner pays 3 credits. That happens twice. So they can go through this for 6 if they have it. If they have a Corp here, they're going through it for 6 anyways. So you do the math. But it says when you res this ice, if it's protecting a central server, take 1 bad publicity. That is neat as a modal card that you can get bad publicity if you want to on centrals when you're playing editorial. I do think the biggest reason for that text is because of the damn I forgot the name of it. That ID from the last set I really don't
Nebula
like.
Talent Agency.
Yeah, this has to be Nebula Tech, right? Like they were like, we don't want you to Hyperglacier Centrals because we made Nebula on accident.
Yeah, that's my read of this card too. Is that you can't bring a really good taxing end the run ice with Nebula in the card pool.
Woof.
Probably that means at some point Nebula's not going to live a natural life, but I don't think there's very few people that will complain about that. And I think in the meantime, I actually don't like. I think this design is still interesting.
No, yeah,
because it has like it can be upside in that list, and then horizontal NBN having a mid range to tax like expensive
doesn't have
ice
barriers.
Is pretty cool.
Like NBN has ping. It's like end of list.
Yeah, I was so proud of myself for slotting a 1 of Marjana because I was like, oh yeah, there's so many 1 cost barriers. And I see, I sit down at the table. It's an NBN plan. I'm like, cool. I definitely am not going to bother to solve my could repair this game. It's never going to be relevant. So
yeah, it's nice. And like a lot of times in NBN horizontal assets, credit totals matter more sometimes than end the runs, like true pure end the runs. And they usually have like 1 big mess in the chest, 1 grubber, something like that. And just saying like, I don't care if you have your fractor. Are you going to pay 6 to check what's in their mode server? If they do, you're good anyways, based off of Oppo research or whatever you're doing in there. Card is aggressively good. It's fine. It's like NBN needed a card like this. It's not Bran, but it's like ping, capacitor doesn't see play. Klevetnik doesn't see play. Give us a barrier that's playable. This is definitely it. Just put it on a remote server.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is a solid role player.
Yeah. What's really goofy about this card too is like in the bad publicity deck, this is terrible because if they have 6 bad publicity, this is like functionally, I wouldn't say not a nice because maybe there's a nice behind it, but like also not a nice.
Yeah.
Where does this go?
I feel like maybe it's the bottom of role player right now because I kind of don't believe that Asset NBN like needs this card.
I think you play 1 in Epiphany.
Okay.
I don't think you're right. You don't need it, but it's nice to force a big fractor.
Okay. So yeah, you're putting it right now below Cultivate and above Reverb. I think that's probably fair. I think if we're talking, it's like, I think we'll see more Reverb because HB is in a stronger spot as a faction, but Grubber is probably the stronger archetype role piece than
yeah. I just don't think you need to play reverb, but like rubber's unique, right? To like what NBN wants from this.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. Are you ready for your yearly big NBN ice that you don't play? It's Lethe, Sentry Destroyer, 6 strength, 9 cost. Whenever the runner bypasses or fully breaks this ice, give them a tag. 2 subroutines. You may add a card from archives to the top or bottom of R&D, and then add an installed runner card to the grip. It's only 2 influence, so it's totally splashable. It's an observer. That's fun. Yeah, big NBN ice has been in an awkward spot for a while now. While we lost Hydra, and Hydra functionally was a 5 credit res on a bunch of board states, which is really good, and a hard end to run, we are left with Seraph, and then we're left with Lethe. The issue is like, it seems holistically, NBN doesn't have a package that supports mid to glacier playstyles. And so this ice doesn't see play in horizontal assets. It's too expensive to see play in Nebula, so it doesn't see play. I think even if there was Glacier, I think this card might be too expensive for what it is. It feels a bit too expensive, but I think I'm understating that, like that passive text.
Yeah, I think this package is actually, I don't know. I think this ice, like if I think back to like Glacier as Mari, I think you would pretty happily play this card. Like, yes, you'd play Hydra first, but like I will say, I think Hydra was so overcurved that I think anchoring against Hydra is a little bit of a mistake. It was printed in a format that had like instant speed tag removal, right? With Aaron Marone as like a part of the consideration of the balance of the card, even though I guess that didn't technically work, but like fine.
The 3 credit Hydra in Reality Plus, like things are weird.
Yeah. It's Hydra was like very much a peak power level, and she's very intentionally trying to go away from the power level. I do think like NBN Glacier just doesn't have a home, but I think like the face check on this is not that, like, it's maybe not quite 9 credits worth of value, but it's like, okay, well, if I put a hedge fund back on top of my deck and I had enough credits to play that hedge fund, that's a slight discount on this ice. It also protects R&D, and most runners have a card that they don't want bounced these days. Maybe not all runners. Maybe you don't care quite enough. But like, yeah, it's like, oh, if it didn't have that top text, like I'd probably want to only pay like 7 for this, maybe 6. And I don't know that top text makes up fully for that 2 to 3 credits of extra value. But I do think giving runners a tag, is relevant, and having some bypass protection certainly won't say no to that.
That's cool.
Everyone's going to be Arasana Doomerang, and by everyone I mean mostly just the Snare Bears.
Yeah, I don't know. NBN Glacier just like there's no defensive NBN Glacier tools, so you have to import everything. The economy maybe is there, but when we look at things like Caveat Emptor and Honsai Review, like those big boost econ cards, like maybe you have non-equivalent. I don't know. It's just like it's very hard to make that whole thing make sense, and this is not going to make the archetype exist overnight.
Yeah, it's like, if next set prints like 4 NBN Glacier support cards, I think this card suddenly gets a home, but on its own, it's just it feels like a little drop in a bucket, and one drop of water is not going to fill that bucket in time.
Well, she's trying hard. Art's sick though. Art's really good. This is a new artist from the set. Also did Nihilo Agent, if I'm not mistaken. Sick.
Yeah, I think Lethe is going to be a playmat for one of the events this year. So.
I don't know if that's announced.
Oh shoot.
What are you thinking?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I make a pitch?
Please.
This should be at the bottom of an archetype role player.
No shot. Pitch me.
Okay. If NBN Glacier existed,
which it doesn't,
this would be in it, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about March 2026.
Okay, but like, do we think? My argument would basically be, I don't think Unleash is a real deck either, but we did put it in Enabler.
But maybe we should fix that.
Okay, fine. We can put this at top of binder. Because you're right. It is not leaving the. I could see a world where at 2 influence, you could splash this into a list and be impactful.
Where are you putting it?
Don't make me Don't make me answer that question. Probably Jinteki Glacier, right?
Yeah. But do you need a big sentry in
actually,
Jinteki Glacier?
I think you might need
nice.
have maybe a sentry that like does stuff other than net damage is nice for Jinteki Glacier,
It's
right?
just like
because you actually don't care about net damage.
You have Snake. Snake is so good. This is worse Snake.
But I could also bounce their, I could bounce something that they have into their hands so they don't actually get in the server.
Snake crashes it.
Oh, I guess that's true, doesn't it?
Yeah, Snake is good text.
Okay. I still want to put this atop of Binder because I think, I guess my argument would be like, I think all of the cards below it in Binder, I don't think have any competitive niche, like even as new cards come out.
I think you're right. Lethe has a niche.
Yeah.
Okay. Until we remember the text on Seraph, which I don't know if I do.
Seraph is unique, so it basically doesn't have text. I think Seraph does have an on-encounter effect that is parallel to the
Snake, but it's every time.
Cloud Eater
one. It's like they have to leave with a tag or something.
Yeah.
All right. We have one more NBN Ice. Just talk about GameNet support.
Yeah.
I can't be more on the nose GameNet support than this. It's paywall. One cost barrier for one strength. It says firstly, it has a subroutine, end the run unless the runner pays a credit. And then it says when the runner encounters this ice, they lose a credit. Shout out to the OG pop-up window. Pop-up window is one of the coolest Netrunner cards of all time, both for theme, mechanics, just real fun art too. Any way that you see the art on this, there's a couple good options. This is not pop-up window because the beauty of pop-up window is not that it kept people out as much as it's fun when it does, but it gave you credits. This is basically an ice that you just break for 2 credits all the time. And that used to be like a staple of standard, but like 7-8 years ago where we had like pups and like bailiffs, or I don't know. That's not a good example.
I've got bad news for you. It wasn't 7 or 8 years ago. It was a decade ago or more.
I'm not getting younger, am I? Sure. But that used to be a thing.
Yeah. 2015 was more than 8 years ago, Andre. I gotta warn you about that.
Shut up. But we used to have things like that. Like we used to have like like Fairchild 1.0.
Yeah. Pop and pop-up window were synonymous with some of the best ice in the game.
Yeah.
Like
Tithe, Tithe is the modern equivalent, and I like Tithe way more than this.
I don't know that I like Tithe way more than this, to be honest.
I do.
Oh, I don't.
So many.
Because there are plenty of board states with Tithe where the runner just goes, yeah, everything fires.
It
costs like
the
cost of the runner.
Nothing.
It costs the runner nothing, right? And that's the thing I often care about more is like, what does my ice cost the runner? So like Tithe is fine. It's not, but like is not the thing I want my ice to do is cost the runner stuff more so than I want it to generate value for me in some way. And I think paywall does to me, most places, if I was running Tithe in NBN, I would just immediately replace it with paywall.
Okay.
If I didn't have to worry about influence in OB, I would replace Tithe with paywalls too.
Oh yeah, that's neat. I could see that. Okay, you talked me off of that.
So.
That being said though, and I tried this in the GameNet assets and it did not work out for me, is like the Epiphany sort of ice suite where you have all these sort of cards that like don't always require a breaker. They're all generally more taxing and have a worse face check than this, right? Like Ping requires a breaker, has a worse face check and a more impactful face check with B1001 and your other stuff. And then you have VSA, which is this, but I would say better because it has stink text for like most breaker suites. You have White Space, which I would say face check on that is a disaster on certain board states. You have what's it called? Lamplighter. I would also say a face check and has tag prevention, like tag punishment built in. Almost all of those cards are better on more board states than this. I don't think I'm playing this in anything.
This is a slots are hard card.
Yeah,
right.
This ain't it.
This is it's like it is a totally reasonable piece of ice. It's just outclassed by basically every other ice in that similar role in the format. But if 2 of those weren't printed, this would be in a lot of decks.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Yeah, this is just a slots problem. There's better cards than that. But it's like functionally fine. Like 1 for 2 is fine. And technically if there's more like credit loss support, which at this point is just GameNet.
Yeah, that's actually where I was thinking about it too. So below editorial division, but above Witch Hunt.
In slots are hard, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's change gears. This is maybe one of the most impactful cards in the set in terms of like opening up archetypes.
Probably.
And for what it's worth, I think we've seen this archetype in 2 factions. I think by the end of this month or not next month, it actually could go up to 3 factions. that could play this with consistency. So I guess we should explain this. This we saw early. This was actually revealed very kindly at Worlds last year, which like a lot of hype card to reveal early. 3 cost, double NBM. So cost 2 clicks. Says choose an installed card you can advance and place 1 advancement counter on that card for each remote server that has a card in its root and is protected by ice. So if you know fully operational, it's the same like sort of scaling conditional clause. So you need to put a lot of horizontal servers, but not just stuff with ice. So not just acid spam, but ice and acid spam. It's 3 influence, which puts it at the point where like, I'm not sure if you're meant to spend 6 or 9 influence on this out of faction. It seems like people are on both sides of that fence. And it is
sometimes 3 too as well, right?
Yeah. This is one of the strongest win conditions we've seen for scoring corps in a minute.
Yeah. Well, and not just, I mean, like almost it's worth saying like fast advanced corps more so than like scoring corps in a way, right? I think scoring, when we say scoring, we often mean scoring out of a remote by advancing card. Like the agenda sits on the table for a turn to interact with, right? Mm-hmm. And this is saying, no, you get them out of my hand, you get them out of a D, or you're not getting them at all, right?
That being said, but the better part about this for like, on an interactive fast advance from centrals, which we've seen many times before the last like season, is that the runner has many ways to interact with this. That's usually like destroy the table. Destroying ice is a bit harder, but like just trash things. So like there is a valve as much as this is still a very powerful archetype.
Yeah. I mean, this card is very powerful, but as you're saying, it does have it has multiple angles of attack. One is you can attack this card. You can attack the central, steal the agendas there. Mm-hmm. If you're an ice destruction deck, you can attack the ice. And every deck needs to have a way to handle assets in the meta. I actually think it's just kind of good for the game that not every game of Netrunner is just how efficient are your icebreakers, but sometimes how can you deal with assets on the board? Mm-hmm. And so your runner deck actually does have to come prepared to deal with what this card is asking. But if the Corp can make it so that you're off tempo or they're ahead of tempo, they have a board state, this is a great payoff for a play style that has like actually quite a lot of inherent disadvantages to it. And this card is proving to be quite powerful and quite potent in the current meta. 3 weeks in, and not super surprising. We were seeing even just fully op precision design without any like super scoring payoffs do quite well in a couple events. It did fall off by Worlds, but it's this is an impactful card. And I think, as you alluded to, like I think this card is totally playable out of NBN. Epiphany seems like a great home for Flood the Market.
Yeah. And I think like you're going to see other weird spots like AU kill combos. Like you're going to see this in strange places.
Yeah. I got killed by someone doing like a combination of Bladderwort, Fut, and Fuji all in one turn to flood the market from low credit totals and really blow me up. I thought that was pretty cool. Probably we're not going to see any asset Weyland decks because of some other ban list changes and stuff. But like, if Svidagor, if Svidagor and Excavator and Extract swap places, I could suddenly see that you could see op decks potentially even look at this card too, though maybe a little bit less likely just because it's not a tutorable card in ob.
But yeah, you'd have to like malapert it, but yeah, I guess you have to score out. It's weird. I feel like we're not going to be talking that much about this card. It's just like, it's very kind of on the nose, very powerful. This is the one card that Synchro Cyclotron really cares about. Shout out to like humanoid resources and scoring this all in one combo turn. Like that's kind of sick. Precision design. Also the fact that you can score out and then have the same problem board state the next turn and pull this back to hand is really strong, as much as you could also try poetry and maybe something else. Card is hella good. I don't think this is a card that can get banned because I think it's more about address how able the runner is to deal with the table or the stuff on the table. Because like it is kind of hard, like legitimately can be hard. Like resing, a cheap barrier. I don't know what else we're resing, a scatter field, and asking the runner to break those on turn 1 or 2 and trash things behind them before things start to snowball. Like sure, run centrals. That's obviously usually the answer to these board states. But it seems like you can tackle. There's so many levers to adjust the power of this card on both sides of the table.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So like this is probably the top archetype enabler, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Faction Stable doesn't exactly make sense, but it is one of the most impactful cards in this whole set.
Yeah, agreed.
As much as there's some absurdly impactful cards here.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm looking now at the Weyland run. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be, there's a lot of good stuff still to come.
Going to get busy. Shout out to one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards circa 2005 or something. Scapegoat. Operation Grey Ops. Resolve one of the following at the runner's choice. Either they allow you to remove 2 bad publicity, or they allow you to choose an installed runner card. The runner shuffles it into their stack. So, choice cards are usually a bit maligned. What do you think about this? It's bad publicity removal, the only we have in the set.
I think this is pretty bad. I mean, bad publicity is historically an effect that is pretty difficult to want to include in your deck because you either want to be going fast and generating a lot of bad publicity and then just saying, who cares? I mean, that's really the only way we've ever seen bad publicity work before.
Yeah.
And then if you're accumulating a lot of bad publicity, but don't want to, then the runner has all of the agency to decide which mode you want. And so you may have spent a click to do functionally nothing helpful.
Yeah.
So
the thing is also you see it coming to some extent, maybe barely, but this is Grey Ops tagged, right? So if you do Vulture Fund turn 1, you grab Vulture Fund for turn 2. Vulture Fund on turn 2 grabs a Scapegoat, and then you can immediately play Scapegoat. The issue is what can you not afford to shuffle into your stack on turn 2 in the runner, right? You didn't have a 20 with counters on it. Your daily cast, maybe it's at 4 credits. I haven't done enough testing to know whether get bad publicity, remove bad publicity, and then consistently remove bad publicity is a game loop. My guess is we're getting into NBN mid-range Glacier territory, which both of us don't seem to have a lot of faith in. So yeah, I don't like this at all.
Is this better? I mean, to me, this is in the Alloc category of binder.
Yeah. I have a slightly more faith in it because there could be a world where removing bad publicity is a play pattern, but is this better than Roughneck? Is this better than that increased drop rates? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
All right. Last NBN card, and a really fun one too. 6 cost, Psych, advertisement upgrade, fun subtype. As long as an agenda was scored or stolen this turn, the res cost of this upgrade is lowered by 6. And you can trash this to place an advancement counter on a card you can advance in the root of the server. So calibration testing is a card we had back in the day. Same trash cost, but it resed for 3. This reses for 6 or free, which averages out to 3. So about the same card. This card is fun. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I played a version of Ob that played a bunch of these because obviously Ob loves a 6 that's actually free.
Yeah.
And the card was pretty cool. I think it was it turned out to not be something that I don't think it was the best card for that Ob list, but I think this card does some really neat stuff.
Yeah.
And impressed, even though I was oh, this isn't the right Ob list for these 2 cards don't go together, at least the way I built them right now. It was doing interesting things. I think I also played a little bit with some poetry hype machine.
Yeah, that's a cool interaction.
That was a very cool interaction in deck. Yeah, because to be explicit there, on either poetry trigger, if you have a hype machine in hand or on the top 3 cards of R&D, you can install the hype machine with your ID trigger and res it for free either way, which is pretty cool.
This card's also really good with powers that be, where the same idea that you can score an agenda, get this from hand or the bin, especially if you just trash this. And of course, an Ob, if you're doing all that combo, you get an envelopment. And envelopment's just a really good piece of ice.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was the cool thing the Ob deck was doing. And it was relevant in some games. The thing though that also was oh, this was just a lot of pressure. So the runner would have to make a run to diffuse this. Because if I could top deck and fast advance of 3-2, that is worth 6 credits. So the runner does actually have to go and deal with this, which was the other big thing.
Yeah. And the fun thing with this, calibration testing was around when Op was around. And it was a very good card in that too. It's if you have an agenda in there, you can just on their turn or at the end of your turn, pop it to pre-advance it to go get an envelopment and just say go. And you've already iced the server up without having to worry about the timing of them making a run first and stuff like that. It's neat. We haven't talked about NBN at all, though, with this card, which is interesting. Maybe there's a powers that be combo that brings us back over and over again with Epiphany because it does have a lot of trash pressure on it. It's a very powerful card. I just think a lot of times those decks are running more 4-2s and their win condition is Holloman based, not really 3-2 based, which this really wants to be scoring out 3-2s if you're fast advancing.
Yeah, I think Hollow Man is the big problem for a lot of the existing NBN kind of acidy decks.
Yeah.
That it's certainly answer. And even an NBN Glacier deck would probably also rather have Hollow Man because it's going to be running, 5-3s as well. But as we get more decks, it's that's the reason I think HB and Weyland are both interesting places because they have a much higher density of 3-2s or pseudo 3-2s. but that could be something that changes in the future.
Yep. So. Neat card, really fun card. I appreciate the design on this. It's a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah.
Role player?
Yeah, I think role player.
Low roll?
I was almost going to I would put on the other side of Grubber.
Okay. I like Grubber, I think, more than you. I think every NBN acid deck is going to play one Grubber at a minimum.
Okay. I guess to me, I have a little bit more belief in like Hype Machine it might be that other people figure out Hype Machine Ob or just Hype Machine Poetry. I actually think seems more real. I'm more worried about that than I am about a 1x Grubber.
Cool. I'm done with that. NBN cards. Like there's a bunch of cards that I think are all part of a package that we don't think is really interesting or consistent. And yet you still have some really solid cards. I think Flood the Market's doing a lot of heavy lifting. And I'll be honest, it seems more impactful outside of NBN. But like Revanchulate, Hype Machine, Grubber, those three alone give enough life to a lot of different NBN strategies that are just good and now just got straight better.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And, I think it's like NBN is in a bit of an awkward spot where a bunch of their stuff got kind of cut down from under them. And honestly, a lot of that happened after VP was, from my understanding, kind of in development and like on its way. So it might be a little bit before we get, some dedicated like, oh yeah, NBN as an identity needs some help. And also NBN's had some identity crisis since Trace got kind of de-emphasized.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So,
all right. Let's transition to Weyland. We have some really fun cards here, and we have a public agenda 4-2 Sacrifice Zone expansion. Love this art. Install only face up. That's what public agendas do. Notably, you can't bounce this with Hermes, which is cool. It's not res nor unres. The first time each turn you advance this agenda, gain 3 credits. And once per turn, if you want to, when the runner makes a successful run on another server, you can take a counter off of this to do 1 meat damage, which is annoying. Let's be honest, Oaktown Renovation is the best card ever printed. This is doing a lot to be close to Oaktown Renovation. Technically, Oaktown Renovation you could leave on the table to do like money. This, you generally get 6 credits out of it, which compared to an off-world office is like not awful. But you are installing it face up, but you're also getting the money immediately, which means you can rush this behind ice and afford to res the ice, which is like a really nice little combo. Before I pass the mic over, I just want to say one of the coolest things with this card that's always caught me off guard is how incidentally, like it seems like it must be purposely, this interacts with so many of the Weyland identities in different ways, right? Like it fires a BTL, built to last, when you advance it. It fires Zwicky because it's an agenda that gives you credits. In Bangoon, it's gross because of, the face-up text is not legitimate anymore because you want to do that anyways. Like, it's really cool how it works in different Weyland decks.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that was very much intentional. It was like, let's make an agenda that interacts well with Weyland card pool that, it's probably okay at worst in OB, but like, it is, let's give juice to a lot of other things. I think it's it helps that Weyland outside of OB has a very coherent, like making money, dealing with agendas, like is what the faction does, right? And so of course you get this really nice hook in. I think this card's pretty solid. I think like, yes, it's 1 credit less than Offworld. I think actually getting the credit the turn
that matters
to install advance it is like pretty much just worth the trade.
Yeah.
I think I've seen people baited into the damage more than they should be, because it's like,
guilty.
Okay, yeah, you pick me for 1 and I get a whole extra turn to steal this agenda. Don't mind if I do. Like,
it's not good. Don't do that. You have to have a good reason to do that. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I think it's like I could see a turn where you're like, okay, my remote's pretty secure. I'm going to install advance. Now I think that's a little bit better reason to kind of dissuade, and I would believe. But if you're removing your only advancement from Sacrifice Zone expansion, I think you're probably making a mistake.
Yep. Also, if you want to only advance this once per turn to get the most money out of it, also probably from my testing a mistake. I do think you want to 2-shot this and gain 6 credits. That's like good enough. You don't have to be greedy unless you're in a board state where you can, because of maybe Bangoon, where people don't want to touch this. But
even then, I'd rather start scoring my next Sacrifice Zone expansion or putting an anthill in the remote or whatever, right?
Sure, but if you're just scoring this and passing your turn, like maybe don't. But like then you don't all want to advance it the whole way. So who knows? Board state. I do want to say like the hard thing with Sacrifice Zone expansion right now and like say op or like reg lists is the Weyland agenda suite is very good. Like it's actually surprisingly good. And so like this sort of, I would say slightly vanilla slot is not that easy to sell.
Yeah, that's true. I have seen good OB players I respect say, yeah, this is better than a 3-2 that I can run in OB, just because, yeah, that upfront credit total is really quite good. And yeah, I don't know. Weyland has a lot of really good agendas. I think this is in the competition without being clearly stronger or weaker than a lot of its peer agendas. So
yeah, card's good. I do want to say rules thing. This says when you advance it, not when you place advancements. So Holloman, stuff like that won't work, but that's a niche thing, really. Card's good. It's a faction staple, let's be honest, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Is it? It has to be on the lower end. I don't think it's in every Weyland list.
I would agree.
Is it left or right of Lion's Mane?
I would say right of Lion's Mane.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
I think every card we have in faction staple right now is quite powerful.
Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one we have is Luana Campush. Do you want to read this one?
I believe it says binder.
No, hold on.
This is Luna Campos, one Luana Campos, one cost asset Campush.
That's what the thing told me to say. Yeah.
Okay. One cost asset executive liability, 2 influence. When your turn begins, you may host one of your bad publicity counters on this asset. If you do, gain 3 credits to draw a card. The reminder text probably should have read there. It has no effect while hosted. So basically, you're removing a bad publicity.
Yeah.
But then it has an interrupt. When this asset would be uninstalled, take all hosted bad publicity. So basically, you get to host 1 bad publicity a turn onto this card, effectively removes it until this card is trashed, in which case you get all your bad publicity back.
Yeah, uninstalled is a bit wider to do compilation stuff like that. Notably, when this is trashed, you technically take bad publicity, so you do fire editorial division, which is slightly cute.
Yeah. I think this card's just straight unplayable, but I'm interested to see why you disagree.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 spots that you can consider this card. The first one, which is not something I've landed, is like an editorial division. This is the way that you can maintain your bad publicity without going underwater. And so then you have this in the remote server every turn. If you get a bad publicity, you're functionally trading your bad publicity for a tutor, 3 credits, and a card draw. And this has to be trashed. Notably, your ice is pretty good and you should have money. So resing the ice is interesting. So you have this kind of engine that like doubles in on your editorial and makes you way more modernism, way faster without drowning in bad publicity. I think that's neat. And again, if they do trash this, well, you can go grab an Oppo research or anything like that because you did take bad publicity and they did trash a card that turn. I think that's something. I don't know if you rush out to put, 6 influence of this in your editorial division deck. It's not a deck I believe in, but I do think for the bad publicity dance deck, this is a good payoff, which is like trash forward, draw forward. And that's what the deck wants to do.
Okay.
The second thing is like, unfortunately, competing with Antil, but regulatory capture is like a good bad publicity payoff in 2026. As much as I don't love that card, the sort of like bad publicity reg cap waiting room is a bit ugly. We have some cooler ways to get bad publicity on tempo. We'll talk about them in a moment. And then having this in a remote server allows you to offshore your bad publicity so the runner doesn't run you down. And then you can always like overinstall on top of this and trash it with your reg cap, your regulatory capture, and score out a 4-2 if it actually matters. I think it's going to be a slots issue. Whether that deck wants to run Plutus or Antil and or this, I think you'll find out together. But it is like one of the cool ways to take bad publicity while managing it while also pushing you forward. I don't think this card is not worth considering. I think there's a chance because it does have board states where it does nothing. It might just be worse than Antil on most board states. But it's not bad. And 3 trash cost is like something for sure.
Yeah. The 1 trash cost on Anthill is a big downside.
Yeah, that does.
Yeah, if you could if a coherent game plan does come around where this can act out your Anthill. Yeah, I think you've sold me on this not being purely a binder card.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some games where I think Antil will be better. It's also nice though that you can res this after resing a bad publicity ice, where like you duck too low on credits to be able to res an Antil. I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know if you want to res a Valenchow on turn 1. Probably want to fire. But it's okay. I would argue that it's probably a bit slotsy though.
Yeah, I would generally agree that I like the Nilo agent. I feel like does the tag dancing thing in a way that you care about more.
Do we want to put her in front of the editorial or behind the editorial?
I would put it further to the right. I would put it like maybe the left of Witch Hunt. My actual thought was to put it to the right of Eska, but I think I'm not going to convince you of that one. So,
okay, I'll split the difference and we'll go right of Witch Hunt.
Okay, so it's sort of in the bottom half of slots are hard between Witch Hunt and Retirement Plan.
Cool. Yeah. Neat card. Genuinely like it. That's text we haven't seen before, so that's pretty creative, and it's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, before you read this, imagine this. You won the world championship. You design, your championship card. They change it. It was meant to be a code gate. It's now a barrier. That card rotates. It was the most important card for certain archetypes. And NSG was like, that was such a good design, Chris. We'll do it again. That's so sick. Like, imagine that championship design gets done twice, whether you want it or not. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, sure. This is Event Horizon. This is a 4-cost Sentry Destroyer, 0 strength.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has 2 subroutines. Trash when installed program, unless the owner pays 3 credits. And the run, unless the owner pays 3 credit. And then, most importantly, it has an effect, Trash, and the run. Uses ability only during a run against this server. This is 3 influence out of Weyland.
Cool. So Border Control is the card this was before. Notably, Border Control is a barrier that not only hard ended the run, but res itself usually for a 3 credit face check or 2 credit face check in the first early turns of the game, which was easier to stomach. Now, the runner can always deal with this with no breakers. As soon as turn 1, they can pay 3 credits to go through this. They won't have a program. That is a downside. That's for sure. So to me, this is a weird, I wouldn't say it's an upgrade. I wouldn't say it's a downgrade. It's definitely a side grade to one of the most powerful cards in all time of Netrunner, which makes this a very powerful card.
Yeah. I think this is a card that like people are not playing as much right now because it doesn't feel as new as it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this card, like, I do think this card is most of the time a slight downgrade, but it's certainly not strictly a downgrade, and it has advantages over its replacement or over Border Control. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a card that is quite powerful and is just a matter of, like, I think this is a card that goes, as lists optimized, it goes into more lists than it's in at the moment. So
I think it's like how not great maybe it is on turn 1 makes me less like happy to play 3 of these in Weyland lists.
Yeah,
which was true. Not uncommon from Border Control back in the day. Now, of course, an op, this is like the best thing you could have asked for.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Ob is its own thing. Like, Ob is to some feels a little bit designed around having a 4-cost and the trash and the run. So like Ob is very, very excited to have this card back in the pool.
But some like good things and admittedly against some Weyland decks, you do want to present a killer sooner than later. If the killer will break this for 2 credits, but if you face check into this with a Fractor, you are going to pay 3 to 6. That's pretty good. Notably, also because it's not a barrier, it doesn't bleed Kurapira counters, which is a downside if you're playing Weyland Glacier, which wants to run a lot of big barriers or mid to big barriers. That's quite nice as well. Yeah, and it's just a nice way that you can interact with successful run triggers or any sort of impactful things. Like putting this on the right server at the right time, like putting this on archives to beat a pinhole is game winning. Putting this on archives to stop a Praxis is game winning, and it's up to you to figure that out.
Yeah. I think that's one of the coolest things about this is like the first one is usually on the road, but the second one can be in a real, like you have to know where, you have to kind of see where is this going to be most impactful. And that's, I think, really a very cool thing about the piece of ice.
Yeah. If you play with Border Control, it's no surprise. This is slightly different. Yeah. But not to a, like, it's still there. It's still all there. It's fine. Card's good.
Yeah, card's very good.
It's a staple.
So to me, the question, we could jokingly put it in Ban Me Please, but I think I don't think we need to.
I want to put it right of horse. There's no way I'm allowed to do that.
Right of horse. No, that's not allowed. That is illegal, sir.
Okay.
You cannot go to,
left of Melies, right of train.
Yeah, left of Melies, right of train, I think is where I'm happy to take it. Because I do think actually resing it for 4 instead of 3 is a pretty big cost.
Yeah, it does hurt. The early game on this sucks, right? Like, I don't know what to say. Technically, if that was a Border Control, you could like res your anthill behind it on some board states. This one is a disaster as if they pay 3 through it. Like, you're not that upset if they pay 3 on turn 1. That's expensive, but you don't want to do it.
I think I've had a game where I got blown out by the runner going like, sure gamble. I like did like, a play I used to do of like, hedge fund, agenda, event horizon.
Yeah.
And then runner just goes, sure gamble, run the event horizon. Res, pay 3. Shoot. My whole game is like blown up here.
Yep. I mean, if that's what you did on turn 1, it's probably an important card. I get it. Card's good.
Yeah.
Card's really good though.
Card's good. I think we have another very good Weyland Ice up next. I played, this is Flywheel. This is a 2 cost, another Sentry for Weyland. It is 3 strength and has 2 subroutines. Gain a credit, you may draw a card. Second subroutine, same as the first.
This is like super Edmonchinian ass art. Man, it's sick. This is like the archetypal Edmonchinian art. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I like this art. This card really impressed me when I brought it in I brought it as a 3 of on my op list and was actually pretty happy to put it literally everywhere. Like I put this on my scoring server multiple times, and it was like, yeah, this is a great exchange for me. Yeah, it doesn't end the run. Yeah, it doesn't truly inconvenience the runner. But often, if the runner is running my scoring remote, one of the best things for me to do is have a new threat and a new challenge to present them. And this card letting me draw cards and recouping its cost and then often making me money long term. It's been huge.
So. Yep. No, it's the numbers on this are just very good. Like 3 strength sentries has been always an awkward breakpoint for many decks. This in theory like is undercosted by 1. You could argue those subroutines are nowhere near as impactful. I would say like Drafter is arguably undercosted at 3, but those subroutines are much more impactful. This card is nice and just easy to play. Like 2 cost, you generally res this for free plus 2 cards. And for the early moment there, and maybe still, like everyone is playing DreamNet. So like getting a cheap ice on archives that will just shut that whole engine down for 2 credits, let alone free, is absurd. I've been struggling to find slots for this, but I think that's because I am not prioritizing it, which I should, because this card is just very, very good. As I would put it on centrals usually, but yeah, if you have 3, might as well put it anyway.
Yeah, and like that might be the biggest thing against it. It's like the Weyland Ice is also pretty compressed, and like being in the same set as Event Horizon means like, well, how many sentries am I actually going to run? Like, do I want to, if I want to run a Winchester and I want to run 2 to 3 Event Horizons, and do I really want to run another 2 to 3 sentries? That could be tricky, but it's like, I don't know. This card to me, like this to me is a staple, and like just like it should be in a lot of Weyland decks. It should have a home, I think, in most Weyland decks.
And like 2 influence is really interesting because this text is good for a lot of decks, right? Like I don't think you have the influence, but like Epiphany, you could want to play this.
Man,
Horizontal HB.
I wish this was a 1 influence card.
Yeah,
like I think this would be a great 1 influence card. Like, because I think this is just a good Netrunner card. It's not so egregious that like,
it's pretty.
Oh man, I let this fire and I lose the game.
Draw 2 cards for HB. It's like PD, draw 2 cards. I don't know, like YDL type decks. I think they needed to curb that sort of idea. But I hear you.
I agree. I don't know that I agree, but that's okay.
But yeah,
I'll one day NSG will stop only printing. Well, the influence scale will expand from 2 to 5 to 1 to 5, and it'll be a joyous day. But
yeah, I think like the 2 influence lot, like you have this, you have Sleipnir, you have Drafter, like you are spoiled for choices, which I think that's interesting. If this was 1 influence, this would have a bigger niche in that market for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like, yeah, it's hard for me to slot this over Sleipnir. It's hard for me to slot this over Drafter if I'm paying that 2 influence for it. So,
do we want to put this higher than the Jinteki Glacier Ice or lower than the Jinteki Glacier Ice?
I was going to say lower.
Okay.
I think though, I mean, it could go to the other side. Like it could even split the middle, split the uprights on them, right?
I don't know. I think Lion's Mane's actually kind of a sick card.
Yeah, I think.
Because like, I think there's a world where Flywheel is forgotten about. Like, and I do think some of this is reflexive. Like I remember Aaron DeBoy, I remember Veritas, and like, obviously the numbers on those cards were not as good, but people just stopped playing them because they didn't do the Weyland thing, which was like end the run, massive credit differential, stuff like that. Like they just didn't do enough for slot. And like, I do think this is quite good though, but it reminds me of that in a way that gives me a bit of a pause.
That's fair. I guess I think about like, oh, my, Ob, I like this a lot. 2 cost ice is great in Ob. But my Nuvums, your Nuvums, your Zwickies, even your like, your Bangoons, like they do want that card draw.
I don't know if they want the card draw.
Okay. Maybe.
Like Zwicky has too much card draw.
Okay. Maybe
the other ones do. I could see that. Like I'd rather play this on centrals than Shailendra, that's for sure. I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Last Weyland Dice. We got a big one. Cool to see Expend is back. We have an 8 cost, 5 strength code gate. It's expendable. Subroutines are quite nice. Runner loses 2 credits and then 2 end the run subroutines. So not like Logjam. You can boomerang this and get through, but hey, some game net support. Well, it's only 2 influence. It has this click, reveal and trash this ice from HQ, this expend ability that says to search R&D for up to 1 barrier and up to 1 sentry, reveal them, and then add those cards to HQ, which makes this card, like most expend cards, super modal, but this one's actually very flexible. 5 set code gates with face check, not bad, as much as this is pretty expensive. But you can also use this as a 1-cost operation to search your deck for 2 cards and draw them. And we've talked about, Event Horizon being a very impactful card to grab at the right place, let alone you can toolbox this to go get your hammer for the matchup if it matters, or imagine what else goes there. And then obviously Weyland barriers are just Weyland barriers. They're good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's like this card I was really high on in previous season. I feel like I haven't seen a lot of it. And I don't know if that's just because
you don't play an ob.
It's only like, yeah, you don't play an ob, and like if you're really rushing, it's a little bit tricky to justify this slot. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe this card's just a little bit underexplored at the moment. That would maybe be my thesis, but
it is. And I think it's because it's boring, right? Like people are not rushing out to build toxin decks because it is boring. It's like, did you really like Pharaohs? This is slightly more like Pharaohs. And I do think the numbers on this are good. And I do think like in New Veg, you have some cool text and good reasons to do this. But it's not sexy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's true. I'm like thinking about my ob list. I'm like, man, I was running 17 ice, and I didn't even really think about this card. And it's like, oh, if I go back, it's sure, but like you play 1 or 2, and it's like, oh, if I draw this early, I actually instead get an Event Horizon in the Maskarovka, and I'm pretty excited about that server.
Yeah, maybe.
And if I draw it late, like the deck has no code gates that you have to respect. So having a code gate that owner has to respect is actually pretty nice. So I guess the question then is this a role player or a slots are hard card?
It's definitely a role player. You have no functional code gates in Weyland that are not Afshar.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Descent, right? Like Shylander is not doing anything. Yeah. This is the mid-range to high strength code gate, and you wanted that if you want like ice diversity.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's
no way around
it. That's fair. Oh yeah, and like I guess if we're also making logjam.deck, like this actually is a 3-of in logjam.deck, right?
Yeah, this trashes face up.
Get your logjams and you trash it face up, and then you also get a code gate, which those decks wanted but not too much of, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
solid, like cool. Boring but solid.
Yeah. I think it's actually quite solid, and yeah, I guess maybe as I'm looking at that arc, so Inner player is going to the right of Caveat Emptor, or sorry, to the left of Red Room. Yeah, and there's a swap I'm seeing, but we'll talk about that one later.
Yeah, I think there's a couple swaps here that we can make, but we have only a couple more cards to get through. All right, You ready for this?
Yeah.
This is a big one. It's Miyoshi. Yeah. It's the most expensive card in the set. 10 cost. Operation. Play only if you scored an agenda this turn that you did not install this turn, so no fast advantage tricks. 4 influence, but add this operation to your score area as an agenda worth 2 agenda points. It is fake points. We have, I want to say, never seen 2 fake agenda points. We've seen 1 agenda fake points that are much easier to play than this, but we've never seen 2 fake points on a card. Now, 10 credits is expensive, but if you win the game, it doesn't matter, right? Like you don't need to survive next turn bankrupt because the game is over. I think this is the most messed up card in the set.
I think this card is eminently fair, but has overperformed my expectations of it the most.
Yes,
of the cards I've seen,
and that's what I mean. Is like it's like this camp that we find ourselves in every once in a while. If this card is good, and by good I mean consistent and closing the game out, and heaven forbid 1 agenda score, I don't think that's real. I've heard of it, but in 2 agenda scores, the game is suddenly over. This is really seemingly bad for Netrunner. Maybe that's a bit of a jump. But I think people would be unhappy.
I think that's I think people have, and not just you, a lot of people have said that.
Yeah.
And I guess the way I have seen this card work has never been bad Netrunner. It has sometimes been compressed Netrunner, but I don't know that, like, the thing I have mostly seen is like, okay, Corp scores to 3, but usually 4 points.
Yeah.
And then has a threat that it could be game. Right. And so that's an acceleration. And if that was hyper consistent, agreed, that's going to be a problem. But I think the Corp being on game point, having this in hand, and it's essentially always a 1-of, being on 10 credits, and being able to protect that credit total and protect the agenda is pretty challenging to do in a way that makes me think that I'm like scared about this being overly consistent. While at the same time, I think the fact that that threat does exist, it forces runners to run outside of their I can wait and see and play control and let you get to 5 or 6 points before I have to actually care about what you're doing. And I like that aspect of the card quite a bit. And I think it's done more than I expected it to in actually be not just being a hypothetical threat, but being a threat that like is good enough to put in a deck and make runners actually change their play behavior.
Yeah, on the macro level, right? Like, I think this card slots in so easily with Weyland, right? Because generally you want to be scoring agendas with about 10 credits because you're threatening double measured. This card with Basalt is like kind of messed up. Like most cards with Basalt turn to be messed up because the idea is like you're always threatening double seamless into Myoshu. So you can go from 3 to game on any board state as long as you have enough money to some extent, right? Like you can do seamless, Basalt for the seamless Myoshu. You have a click left. That's kind of wild. I think the thing that like really got me by surprise with this is that I'm playing op and then going from 3 points, scoring on the table, mind you, but the runner's looking at the other side of the table being like, you're on 3 points, what are you going to do? And you hollow min out an Uzyef, trashing a 2-cost to get a Malapert, which fires to get the Myoshu, game over. Like those sort of board states scare me. Admittedly, this is like getting scared of the worst case scenario, not the common scenario. But like, I do think that sort of play pattern is hard to play around, where the runner can go from like Uzyef with a 2-cost rezzed to Myoshu to game point way faster than you'd expect. And then if you do interact, of course, they have double measured play, you'd hope.
Yeah, I mean, so to be honest, like to me, this is the like, I actually think the problem with pre-Vantage Point was actually a problem with Basalt. Yeah. And all of the problems with Myoshu are actually Basalt Spire problems.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Vitruvius counters were difficult to get. It's in retrospect, it's a little bit odd that Basalt gets them so cheaply and on both sides of the table, right?
Yeah.
To me, there are going to be cases where Corp gets to kickflip, and obviously Ob gets to kickflip the most to do Myoshu scoring winning patterns, right? I think to me, I'm just like, the agenda had to be on the table, Corp had to be in a lot of credits, and they had to be in some kind of threat range to make things happen.
Yeah.
I'm okay with some percentage of the time that closing out a game in a way that was literally impossible before this, right? There was no other way to go from 3 to 7 by just having 10 credits in the click left. Like it was a multi card combo.
Yeah, but like,
and making this single card is making the single card changes the calculus a lot in ways that like can be unhealthy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Because now it's instead of me giving up like double biotic bass, like dream lines, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I just have to have one card in my hand and lots of money. And like, I should have lots of money if I'm building my deck right. But I feel like most good Netrunner decks have historically said, I like getting to 20 credits. Like if the Corp is like, oh, I can get to 20, 30 credits easily, but if I can't protect my remote, what's the point of all that money?
Sure.
Like Myoshu's not going to do me anything there.
But it's like this weird mix where it's like 10 sounds like a lot. And then you score an off-world office and you're like, oh, I just had to have 3 more credits to close the game from this point. Like that is something that is hard for runners to play around or like to see coming to some extent. Again, I know people try and score this with Melies in HB. I'm not sure if that's worth the slots, but the idea is like, you can go slower, but score 2 agendas to close the game out without Malapert. I don't know how consistent that is. I do think it's a Basalt issue. Like Nuvik, you can get big money. And then once the Basalt is scored, every card on the table potentially is lethal with access to seamless launch. Like maybe that's the thing that I'm more scared of. I don't know. Yeah. But like out of any card in the set, maybe Myoshu doesn't get banned. This does seem like the card that could lead to bigger balance problems. Maybe that's not true. Do you know what the thing with this card?
No, I think it's a card that has a bigger balance problem.
Yeah, okay. You think there is one that has a bigger balance problem?
Oh, absolutely.
Ooh. Do you think it's the last card in the set?
Oh yeah.
Waiting for that one.
I don't even know. Like I don't even know that like it's problematic per se, but it is way more warping to me.
Oh yeah, 100%. Super warping. Most messed up card, but that's because you'll see it literally everywhere, as well as everything. It touches every turn of the game. I'm surprised Miyoshi doesn't have a trash cost. Like this seems like the sort of card that NSG would have had one day printed with a trash cost, just so runners could feel like they can interact with it.
Yeah, they can interact with it because it has a 10 in the upper left-hand corner, though.
You want me to get 10 stealth credits and my Lampades? That's impossible. I don't know, man. Like, I don't honestly think it's gonna get banned, but like, this is the card that gives me the most pause to be like, if this is good, we are cooked. Like, I feel like I'll be upset about it. Okay. But it doesn't seem like it's that good.
Yeah. I agree that it's not. It is better than I thought, but I would not describe it as good.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's like, to me, it is actually an archetype role player, not an archetype enabler.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I'm good with that.
I think
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm putting it at the top though.
I think it's probably I think it's the strongest of the role players for sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It's a card that like I think I can't tell if NSG wanted it to be good or not, right? Because it's the sort of card where like if it is good, ooh, that's bad. It's like Big Deal. Like I think in a world where Big Deal is good, Netrunner is bad. And we have sometimes been in that world. And that's like what Mioshu feels like that to me.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right. Another weird card. Reanimation Protocol. You want to read this one?
Yeah, sure. This is Reanimation Protocol. It's a 2-cost operation, liability. Install and res one piece of archives, paying a total of 10 credits less. If you res a piece of non-liability ice this way, take 1 bad publicity. I was like, this art is one of my favorites from the set.
It's good. The color is so nice.
Yeah, the color is so nice. I love the little skeleton, static combined with like low pop. Like it's just got a lot of nice components to it. Yeah,
I like this a lot. Put this on a playmat. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't love the card very much. I struggle to find decks like resing a 10 cost piece up to 10 worth of ice is like you want ice that big basically always has a face check penalty. And you're just giving that all away and taking a bad publicity for the pleasure of that.
Yep.
So
it's install and res, mind you. So you do save more credits off of install costs if you want to go Hyper Glacier. Like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I tried building into this. And by building into this, I mean putting 3 of this in Nuvang, because that's one of the problems with this is like you need to get your ice in the bin. Now, outside of Toxin and like popping an Event Horizon and Nuvang itself, there's not that many ways to do it. Maybe you can op an SEF. But at the end of the day, like you need this weird overlap of things like expensive ice that has a bad face check, but not that bad of a face check, I guess. Mind you, this doesn't res the ice for free. So if you're trying to res a BOAC, you still have to like worry about those extra 4 credits. I guess I was trying to say Archer here, but that doesn't work. It's tricky. It's like a lot has to line up. And at the end of the day, this is just, I would say, a middling economy piece that gives off bad publicity. So the upside needs to be that you're recurring a card over and over again, like popping an Event Horizon and putting it back, which I could see maybe if you're going to win the game. But this is just an economy piece. There is no interaction
I would play
point.
retirement. If I really wanted to recur my Event Horizons, I would just play a retirement plan or
Yeah, it depends what faction you're
hospitality.
In. But yeah, there's no interaction point here besides strictly, do you want your res your ice and hopefully get more than 8 credits worth of savings, which is not even that easy. I don't know.
Yeah.
It also was hard. Like I could see this being a rush deck, but for the rush deck, now the idea is like you have to get your agenda on the table, then your ice in archives quickly, and then get this in hand at the same time. And so then if you have these like 3 moving pieces in Nuvang, which is inherently a bit inconsistent, being 50 plus cards, get ready to be frustrated on stream. That's just how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
I think this is just a binder card, right? Like it's a neat card. It's a very interesting build around, but I don't even feel like it's a slots card. Like,
yeah, I do think it's a binder card. It's not solving a question anyone's really asking.
Yeah.
Down here?
Sure. Yeah.
What were you thinking? I can nudge this.
No, I think you're right. I was going to go higher, but I think you're right.
Cool. We're not done with bad publicity. So we have Vulture Fund. This card is very vanilla. 1 line of text, 7 credits to gain 14 credits and take a bad publicity. It's 2 influence. It's of course both a transaction and a liability, which a couple different IDs care about that text. This is 7 credits for a single click. I guess we're going to have to mention Too Big to Fail, which was our last bad publicity card that gave you 7 or 10 credits, depending on what faction you played it in or what identity. But that you cannot play to make bigger money. Biggest, it was just from 0 to 7, which is still like a nonsense jump. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was only play if you have 9
10.
or fewer credits, I think.
Yeah, 10 or less, or less than 10. I forget which one.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's like because editorial division exists, like this now has 2 different factions it can live in.
Mm-hmm.
I think bad publicity was sort of not worth playing in Weyland, and I think this card actually does a lot to make it a consideration.
Yeah.
Because big money, and then also if your payoff is ultimately regulatory capture, you want some ways that don't require the runner to run into your liability to actually make it happen. And so this card has a really good home for that style of Weyland, and then also a very nice home in editorial division. So
yeah, this seems like your best card in editorial for the first couple turns. Like the issue is getting to 7. You don't want to do credit Vulture Fund because that's not a great turn. So like you need to play your planograms, your YDLs to be able to get to 7 and then play this to grab the next Vulture Fund, play that, get something cool with that. But the idea that like you can consistently be on like 21 credits on turn 2 and editorial is like the reason to do it seemingly. I played this in regulatory capture fast advance as Wiki. And the fact that you can get 2 bad publicity and 14 credits off of a Plutus very quickly is kind of sick to like bad publicity rush. And also having more money is good because you have Valen Chow, and Valen Chow just cares about having more money. So like that is a pretty consistent internal package. I think I was expecting to play this in like New Vang and have a 9 credit button. But from all my testing so far, if you don't play bad publicity removal and you can't rush consistently, giving bad publicity for 7 credits in New Vang wasn't a good trade because you can just print money in New Vang anyways. You don't need to take bad publicity to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. We still have Extract in the game, which is a 6 credit econ card in Ops. So like that's probably not showing up there. But there are a bunch of, Vulture Fund in theory into like double measured is a line. It's just like Extract does that on many board states, even if you're not playing Ops. So I don't know if you need to play this as like your panic 7 credit button. Yeah,
I think that's true. But I think you have built around so that this does work with pretty well.
Yeah, so. for sure. But I just don't think it's like it's not like we saw Too Big to Fail outside of Outfit, which is I think
it's an archetypal card.
Yeah,
very much so.
I think
it's an enabler, right?
It technically is an enabler. And that's because you can't play Red Cap without this.
Yeah. So this just for audio listeners, this is between Lotus Haze and Unleashed, an archetype enabler. So we don't have that many in there, but it's near the bottom. But I think it's a pretty essential enabler in a way that it's kind of odd to have a hedge fund as an enabler, but like it is.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Like Red Cap was such an ugly card just like a couple months ago because there was like no bad publicity support in Weyland, and this is just enough to consider it. So we'll see if that shows up more.
Yeah.
All right. We have 2 more cards here. Weyland upgrade. We got 2 of them. It's flagship, 3 cost, unique upgrade. It's ritzy. That doesn't matter currently. You can only put this on HQ or R&D. It says runs against the server cannot be declared successful. So they're neither successful nor unsuccessful. We've in fact seen this text before on a very similar card. It has a persistent text that says during each run against the server, the runner cannot access more than 1 card other than this upgrade. So it does do something against successful run triggers that multi-axis. As much as half of them are attached to successful run triggers, at least this works against like the twinning. 4 trash, 2 influence. Now, the card this is compared to was one of the most important cards for a minute. When Crisium Grid came out, I played before and after it came out, during it came out. And that was such a good card. It had a big butt. All it did is could go anywhere. It stopped successful runs. I believe it was a grid, so you can only have 1 grid per server. But that's all it did. And it cost 5 to trash, which back then trash costs were a bit different than now. It was also 1 influence. And I think that's the most frustrating thing. Like this seems like it's influenced around the existence of Nebula. Just destroy Nebula. Please destroy Nebula.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also, to be honest, like there's another card, the last card that we're going to talk about, that makes me not worry so much about needing to deny successful run effects. I think there's like, I don't know, Crisium was hard tech that made sense because Siphon was in the game.
Yeah.
Right. Like
that's exactly
Siphon is still one of the most powerful Netrunner cards ever printed.
Mm-hmm.
And so you wanted to like it because there was a philosophy at the time around not banning or, removing the card. You needed to print very, very sharp tech to it. And maybe one day I'll get safer to talk about it on Measure Response, but there's generally been a shift within SG away from hard, sharp tech. And so this being a little bit less exciting than Chrysium, I think is coherent with that. I'll leave it up to the viewer to decide whether or not they like that much. I will say I've never been the biggest fan of Chrysium. It did feel pretty crude, and I never was thrilled to put it in the deck. I would put it in the deck because the meta forces demanded it.
Yeah.
But I would rather have a deck that did proactive things for me. That, you know, that's part of why I liked Border Control so much more, was because it did useful things for me while still doing some of the same roles as Chrysium.
And like admittedly, Flagship slightly has text against multi-axis, and most decks have successful run triggers. Notably, you can put this on archives, which is actually really impactful as a way to not just like blow up Seb or Iru or I don't know, Baker. I don't know what other cards, but like there are a lot of triggers that care about archives. And those are ones that are actually harder to interact with because you don't often ice up archives with the sort of gusto that you might for the other central servers. Like that is a weird omission on this card that seems to be balance motivated.
Yeah. I don't know why it's an odd one for sure. It feels a little odd that it can't go on archives for sure.
Yep.
So again, it's probably, I mean, to some extent, it's probably that persistent effect is really weird on archives.
Yeah, very ugly on archives.
So
yeah, don't like that. This one doesn't spark joy in me. I agree. I'd rather not have to ever play this. And if I have to play this, it means something has gone weird.
Yeah. I feel like we often end up putting the tech cards in slots are hard. And that used to be a big part of our spiel, was like, oh, sometimes we're going to put tech cards in slots are hard and you might see more of them. But yeah, this is a slots card for sure.
Yeah. And there's some metas where this is the best 2 influence. Again, it's 2 influence. It used to be 1. It was so easy to put 1 in, just like Mavirus in some old metas, as much as that used to be 0 influence for boomers. But yeah, I mean, it's a powerful effect. We know that. And 4 trash costs is not nothing. All right. Last Weyland card. It's another upgrade. Shackleton Grid. It is a region. 1 cost, 3 trash. So already good ratios on all the cards. I think today we've seen pretty good ratios. Once per turn, when the runner spends credits from outside their credit pool during a run against the server, you may do 4 meat damage to them. Again, 3 influence as well. Outside of their credit pool means things like bad publicity now. It means things like a Chesva, Overclock, most stealth credit providers like Mantle, Taka.
Companion credits. Yeah.
There's a lot of
UAV credits.
UAV credits. That's cool. I want to say off the top, it's like kind of weird that there's like this really seemingly disastrous punishment to stealth on the Corp side when stealth is like pushed on the runner side. I want to make sure before you like, you know, really lace into me. I think this card's dog water. I just wish it didn't exist. This sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's like, this card is so bad that it's a little bit like, why even print it?
Exactly.
Like, yeah. It's like, it's not I'm not going to build a bad publicity Corp deck and then be so excited that I don't get to build around Shackleton Grid if I'm a bad publicity deck.
No.
Because I have to resist in advance and the runner can just say,
I'm good.
All right. I guess I just won't spend the bad publicity on this one run.
Which makes it harder to trash. It
does, but they probably have 1 million credits because they've been getting to use that bad publicity on every other run for the entire game, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's like people are like, oh, this is stealth tech. And maybe, but I think it's more meant to be like a bad publicity support piece than it is meant to be stealth tech.
Yeah. Like say, you know, your criminal puts down their Chesva, you can put this on central servers. Now they have to not use their Chesva for that run and trash it for 3, which like is not nothing, but like you can only put 49 cards in your deck.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I put this card in to make in just the right alignment of stars, make the runner spend 2 more credits than they would have otherwise.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Like, just so people know, like this is not a trap. Like they can't spend a stealth credit. You could be like, I got you.
If this was instead like, when they access this card, if they spent any credits from outside their pool during this run, like then I would agree with everyone who like this would be a more frustrating card if it was like retroactive looking in the past. But because it's secretly a runner chooses effect, like it's just not very good and also not very exciting. So it definitely feels like a bit of a miss. And we are once again finishing up on like down notes on some cards here. But the last card I think we'll get to talk about and be pretty
do we just bottom a binder for like
Yeah. Realok, I think I could see a world where Realok does something exciting for me. I cannot see something.
There's no reason to do this, so that's good. real quick before we go into the next hour of this podcast, Weyland cards were fine. Op got some really good stuff. Like mid-range Weyland got some really good stuff. I think that's mostly it.
Yeah. I think mid-range Weyland got a lot of stuff. I think Weyland was in a okay place.
Spot.
Like it's hard to know how it's because Ob. I don't know. It's like all of the Weyland ideas kind of do the same thing, and I'm actually including Ob in that.
Yeah.
But Ob just does something. Generally, does that same game plan more consistently, so it's going to be favored by skilled players more. So it's like there's a world that's like, oh, if we banned Ob, we might see a slightly different like power level of Weyland, but like I think we'd see the same basic game plan and play patterns. It would just be less consistent, a little bit different, and so putting more cards along that line makes sense.
And just so we have it on tape, that game plan is score of assault, and then threat measured responses, right?
Yeah, probably. But if you're like me and don't have and lent away all your copies of Basalt Spire, you have to come up with other game plans.
That was a choice. Hopefully get back at some point.
At some point I need to get one back from a cube person and two back from Sam. So
okay, good luck. Cool. All right. We have one more card, and this is very easily one of the most impactful cards we're probably going to see for, I don't know, years, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's not get ahead of us. Maybe. It's a 4/2. It's a neutral agenda, but it does cost 1 influence. So you do have to spend for it. Everyone does. It says, when you score this agenda, you may search HQ, R&D, or archives for one agenda and reveal it. Then you add that agenda to HQ or the bottom of R&D. So you can either grab your next agenda when you score this, or take an agenda functionally out of the game until there's a shuffle. The bottom of the deck at this point cannot be accessed by any cards directly, so unless you shuffle, it's functionally out of the game until the Corp deck's out, in which they have their own problems. However, there's more text on this. It says, while this agenda is in the runner's score area, it is worth 1 less agenda point. So this is functionally fake points. Global Food Initiative was the 5/3. I have spent so many hours on the internet talking about Global Food Initiative. I've done a whole bunch of math. Link in the description if you want to talk about that card. But that was a 5/3 that just had that text. So it was a 2-pointer for the runner, a 3-pointer for the corporation. And that was one of the most important agendas of all time, because corporations very easily would play 2 of them as their 3-point agenda suite and have this agenda suite where they can win in 3 scores, but the runner has to always steal 4 agendas. Now, Let Them Dream is less obvious with what the math dictates, but you can easily play against a corporation on average that has 17 points in their deck as opposed to 20. That just makes it that much harder for you to hit 7 points. And there is so many knock-on like results of that. Whether it's early aggression not converting disastrously, whether it's putting this in a remote server and forcing the runner to run it, and they spend all that time and money and only leave with 1 point in a deck that has no reason and no will to play 1-point agendas, which are really bad for slots versus agenda points you want to put in your deck. This card is going to have the biggest impact on standard for a really long time. And it looks like so far, everyone's really jazzed with it, which I think is on a couple lines. Is like, firstly, it feels good to score, and you're not just losing on centrals anymore.
Yeah. I think it's, to me, like, I don't know, it's interesting because I'm definitely a little bit lower on this card than the Netrunner consensus.
Mm-hmm.
And like the math on this card is pretty clear. Like the thing this card does is says, I lose on centrals less to me. That's what this card does.
Yeah.
And that is a very powerful effect that many decks want. And it's very easy for me to underrate that because I've just kind of accepted being a player that loses on, like, I'm like, games are going to get lost on centrals.
My bad.
It's just part of the game in Netrunner, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm used to being like, yeah, I've got my Asa. I've outplayed my opponent every turn of the game, or not every turn of the game. That's too hubristic. But like, I've finally set up my board. I've outplayed my opponent. I've got things set up. I'm going to win next turn. Of course, I'm going to lose on centrals this turn, right? That's just how Netrunner works. And like, part of me, I'm like, yeah, that's exciting, Netrunner. And so like, I think those losses hurt me less than they should and so I'm not evaluating this the emotional way I evaluate other cards that feel like they have a bigger impact on the game. Whereas this feels like a very mathematical, almost balanced patch to centrals.
Yeah. I'm like glad you say patch, because this card, as much as it is a 3 influence or 2 influence sink, however you want to cut it, feels like a patch to the game. Like it feels like welcome to season 3 of Netrunner or whatever you want to call it. We got less points. And like that has a huge impact on the decks you can play, the length of the games you're expecting. On average, what is the like result of a single, like this just feels like it changes so much.
Yeah. I think it totally does. And there's a lot of agenda suites where it's like, oh, so I think, I think about GFI, and like, to me, GFI is the more powerful card than this, which is, I might be, the thing that GFI was like, okay, if I'm playing, like, the score pattern is locked in for me as the Corp of 1 GFI and 2 of my other things. I can play 2 GFIs and I'm in a really good spot, right? And it's like very occasionally I'm going to have games trying to score 4 agendas and then runner will steal 4, but like that's okay. I think but it's like your only agenda suite really was 2 GFIs and then 2 pointers to fill out. Like there was you could do other mixes, but they were pretty suboptimal. I think it's not clear what the right mix with Let Them Dream is. Should you be playing 2 or 3? Should you be playing with 3 pointers, 2 pointers, 1 pointers? Like, what's the right mix? And maybe it just supports more. That might actually be the case.
And that's super interesting that this makes a much more flexible agenda suite. And there's even decks that, for what it's worth, food was in 90% of decks. There are some decks that don't want to play this, right? Like Epiphany running only 2 pointers. There's not a big reason to play these because the runner and the Corp both win on 4 axes or 4 steals usually.
Yeah, and like I think most oblists don't want to play this in part because shuffling all the time, and like you've got still better options. Though. I don't think it is. At least it could be. The obs that it could be, and like Miyoshu Let Them Dream is like the best case I've seen for playing it in ob.
Yeah,
I think to me, I am not that high on the score effect. I know everyone else is, but to me, it is. When I compare it to most other 4-2s, like, it's not
as good as most.
It's not
4-2s.
Doing that much, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I'm paying in. Like, as the runner, every time I've seen the Corp score a Let Them Dream, I've pretty much gone, oh, great, that wasn't X, right?
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't. If I was against Jinteki, it wasn't appropriate negation.
When they're scoring this, what are they doing?
I mean, honestly, both modes have been fine. I guess from my perspective, like mostly what I've seen is people putting a 5-3 on the bottom, and I go, okay, I was going to play the remote lock you anyway, so that doesn't actually change my calculus, right?
Yeah, you hunt a spin doctor down or whatever.
Yeah, I had a spin doctor down, or I just say, I'm going to remote lock you.
I've seen force a Sleipnir shuffle. They can choose not to, but like they're happily do it, and you're like, oh, cool, thanks.
Yeah, I do think people are taking optional shuffles more than they should with this card when they bottomed, but like. Yeah, and it's like, oh, if they're putting it into their hand and then scoring, like at that point, I am so behind on the board that I cannot contest 2 consecutive 4-2s or whatever. Like I wasn't going to win that game anyways. And so it's like, to me, I've seen this scored and do nothing for the Corp. And most other 4-2s that we've talked about and been excited about do a lot for you when scored. And like, in exchange, this has a pretty bonkers defensive ability, and that has a lot of home. There's a lot of decks that don't need a powerful 1 scored effect. They need a powerful 1 stolen effect. Yeah. But to me, it's not the like when a Corp scored GFI, you were suddenly in danger. When a Corp scores Let Them Dream, I don't feel the same sense of danger when I'm the runner.
I hear you, and I think it's on context where they score it. Right, like La Costa is one of the best enablers for this because you can score it with a click left, jam in their remote server, and then not only can you get the next Let Them Dream, which you probably don't, you go get the Proprio or the Lotus Haze or the one of Sisyphus. Like you build your deck around it. That's really, really strong. The fact that their board state can go from 2 points to basically game point this turn with La Costa on top of something else, that's definitely something. I do want to say though, like I agree. If they score out a 4-2 with active text, like for scoring it, I'll probably be more scared of it. But I can just tell you, like anecdotally, from playing on JNet for as long as the set has been out and playing in person, the amount of games where I have put this in my Corp deck where the runner has lost, where if this was a real 2-pointer, they would have won, is about 1 in every 4 games. Yeah, I'm winning 1 in every 4 more games. Now, of course, if I had a 4-2 that I scored with text, that would be different. But like maybe you just don't try and score these. Like it's like NAPD Cordon. Yeah. It still messed the game up. Or sorry, NAPD, not NAPD Cordon, NAPD contract.
Yeah.
You tried not to score it, but it still messed the game up to the point where they were definitely worth the influence.
Yeah, I guess I think that's totally true. And that probably is where we're going to end up. Mm-hmm. I think the question for me is, are runners going to adapt and understand that they just need to have more gas in the tank than they did before Let Them Dream came out?
Yeah.
Right? Because like, oh yeah, if I just build my runner deck to be more resilient and say, yeah, I just like before I could Hail Mary in states where I was slightly behind, and I actually could win more than I could. And Let Them Dream says I can't. So if I then build my deck to be more resilient, I need to Hail Mary less. Well, now all the value the Corp got from the Let Them Dream is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're incentivized to move back to other 4-2s. And I could see that being the world. But Food
didn't do that.
I think that's me being very so I think Food functioned differently because its one score effect was really that you got 3 points.
Yeah.
And the difference between 2 points and 3 points, I think, is pretty substantial. Even though you're risking 1 versus 2, that risk I don't feel like is as like washes a little bit out compared to the score effect for the Corp.
I think you're right, and this is like a confluence of a bunch of different ideas. Like me not poking early against Belly S. The thing is like it feels like the central runs in the early game are way less impactful against the sort of now agenda suites where you need 24 axes instead of it used to be like 18 or whatever it is. That's a bit exaggerated. But like I'd rather play
I think it's closer to like
gassed.
18. I think it's like 2021 now instead of like.
Yeah, it's more 2021. But if they actually bottom of 5-3 and don't shuffle, it goes up to like 25. It's hard to model, but like ballpark, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. And maybe this is like I've been playing, instead of playing Vic, I've been playing a lot of Baz and just been like, I'm gonna run all my daily casts. I'm gonna run all my boomerangs. I'm just gonna put my deck's just gonna be economy and then a couple of Baz tricks. And so I just have a little bit more gas than the like Vic. I'm gonna run, get all my value from the early runs style of criminal.
Yeah,
and that might be my like anchoring bias, and then also just playing a deck that I think is just completely broken in our Asana. Like I think that deck just dunks on Let Them Dream in a kind of funny way. Even though it's like it makes your deep dive way worse.
Yeah, this does start deep dive. We went through this whole Corp thing without talking about deep dive. That kind of tells you like what I think about deep dive right now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's
wild.
like basic. It's like the reason we didn't talk about deep dive is because of Let Them Dream, because it makes the ability like stealing one agenda used to mean that the runner could deep dive and have like a 50% chance at worst of winning the game.
Yeah,
and with Let Them Dreams, that just isn't true. And so while I think Deep Dive Shaper is still a real metaphors, it's because the rest of the deck is powerful, and Deep Dive is a good way for them to have some insurance for board states, rather than saying Deep Dive is so good that they just need to touch 2 points and then they win.
Yeah. Shadow also train. It's good to be back against Deep Dive as much as you can deal with it.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm surprised how happy people seem to be with this card. Because I don't know if people were happy with Food. After a while, like once you start doing the numbers and like they have to like give you a mad dash for anything to make sense, like I don't know, people get a bit more upset about it, but like people are pretty stoked about this one. I could imagine like feeling happy with this Netrunner patch 3.0, whatever, and just like thinking scoring corps have a bit more resiliency, and I'm okay with it, and not getting frustrated with what's in my score area and what I haven't won yet, even though I have like 4 agendas in there. I don't know. I'm like not hating this, but like I don't. Like it is the Ban Me Please card in the set, isn't it?
Yeah. It absolutely. It has to be. No, this was always going in Ban Me Please.
Yeah. Okay.
I still have this. I have this lingering worry that like, this is this really nice card in Scoring Corp, so I don't lose on Central as much. I am still quite worried about it in like an all-in Alco kill list or an all-in Thule kill list, where it's just like, I'm playing annoying agendas, and like, I am. This is an NAPD contract. Was an NAPD contract that triggers all of the on-score effects that you cannot avoid paying.
Yeah.
And it's only worth 1 point for you, and it does all these nasty things. But like, probably, I mean, Thule relied on a bunch of FFG cards to be good. Alco keeps getting hit with the Nerf bat, with Banhammer. So probably it will never actually quite come to pass. But that continues to be my concern with the card.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like also, we get into this weird thing where now like the runner cards will kind of, for the next little while, the runner cards are going to be created with balance that this card exists. And then you have that rotation, which is like messes up the whole game, like a couple of years down the line. Like it's a hard, like, the boiling frog. It feels like we're starting to boil.
Yeah. I mean, like this set definitely said Port power level, like this set, I think if we, from memory, when we looked at there was 1 card for the runners in Faction Staple, 3 cards in Archetype Enabler.
It was a pyramid.
About as many in in role play, maybe like 4 or 5 role player. And then it's just like most slots are hard, most binder.
Yeah.
And there are fewer runner cards than corp cards by a significant amount this set. It's actually like a notable divergence in the set was like it was more runner light relative to corp heavy. I think corp's got a lot of staples, a lot of enablers, the one ban me please, and some really impactful, like some of the role players are probably stronger than the enablers here.
Yeah.
Not even possibly like are. Like corp's got a lot of power. And there is a world where, we're just going to continue to seesaw. And I think that's probably okay. I think, there's the like idea of like balanced thrashing where you go back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
And that like especially with a game like Netrunner where you cannot do much adjustment, like cards just come out, like some of that's going to be inevitable. I'll be interested to see. I guess I would say I don't hate the power level of standard that these corp cards imply.
No, standard's actually been like, again, we had to reiterate this so many times in the last video because of a bunch of reasons. But like standard right now seems really cool, like really interesting.
Yeah.
On the corp side, most factions are entirely playable with multiple identities. The win rate seems to be slightly corp favored, but usually that changes in time. Just wait. Like it's good. It's generally good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it's like, we'll have to, hopefully the dev team can say like, you know what, this is, the power level of runner is going to be Let Them Dream, Melius U, Event Horizon. Like these are the things that runners should be capable of dealing with. They should not be overcoming them with ease. They should not be overcoming them with regularity.
Yeah.
But they should have a 50-50 game into these sort of things. And that's a power level to peg at. And I think that would be a great power level for the game to kind of sit at for a while. So the corp side for this makes me optimistic. I do think runners were ahead all of last year, even if win percentages don't completely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think this has been a neat set of cards for sure, and some fun ones. So
cool. Real quickly, I can just move our cameras and we can take one last crack at this.
We have some rearranging to do, I think,
okay, so let's go from the top. So ban me please, fine. If we look at the faction staples, I don't feel like I have strong
really
opinions.
Stands out to me.
Yeah, that's archetype enablers. I think Unleash is the weird one there. I feel like that's a role player in an archetype.
Okay. Yeah, we can bump it down. I think it bumps down pretty far.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Hold on,
now
I think that's probably right.
Yeah. Okay. We're getting even smaller.
Wait, okay, hold on. But now I'm like and now I feel like reverb is too low. Like reverb is going to see so much more play than Unleash. But I guess it's like not that. It's not that.
No, it's
important. No, it definitely is. Yeah,
that's a huge jump. Okay, for those who are listening, reverb just went from Unleash went to the back of role player, and reverb just jumped into the middle. But I haven't asked Jeff for any feedback. So
no, I mean I'm very high on reverb, but I'm an HB player. So I think the other thing that I'm thinking about is I think Cultivate is probably a little underrated in our role player.
Yeah, I think Cultivate's actually a genuinely good card.
Yeah, like I might even put it just to the right of Miyoshu. Like I think it's going to see quite a bit of play as people get better at the set.
Cool. Yeah, I'm in. I think it's just like a very, very flexible card, and usually those are
actually maybe okay. Maybe I can go to the other side of Cyclotron because Cyclotron is very clearly strong quite right now.
Yeah, it is worth building around. I like Rubber more than where it is.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. We can move
good.
Rubber above Toxin.
Yeah, that seems fine.
I think, yeah. Yeah, okay, so our new role player and the other swaps in role player, nothing screams out to me. I like Red Room as a concept, but I agree. I struggle to see it's going to be super consistent. So right now, role players now Myoshu, Cyclotron, Cultivate, Caveat Emptor, Reverb, Rubber, Toxin, Red Room, Hype Machine, and Unleash.
Cool. All right, slots.
I think I'm fine with this. You're going to move Retirement Plan up one above
Luana.
Campos.
Yeah, flip those two.
Luana Campos. Yeah.
I mean, that's fine.
Yeah,
this seems
fine.
Okay. Yeah, this seems okay. And then Binder, like,
I kind of don't care that much. I think most of these are pretty for Binder. I think all 4 of those ice on the left are hard for me to know which of those, if any, will make it out of the binder. They all seem plausible, and I think everything
this is
else
the most
feels
plausible.
implausible out of the binder.
I think Unsell is the most likely to come out because like someone could just put it as a one of instead of a tier because some people play tier in their what's it called in their LEO deck.
That's true, and their
maybe.
LEO or their PD, they're like big PD lists.
Yeah, it seems
like
fine.
They're Yodel PDs. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Okay, I think that's a wrap.
Cool,
pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, just a mere
4 hours,
4 and a bit hours later. Yeah.
I mean, we got to do this once a year. Why not take our time? So it was really cool. I think that's obvious. And again, shout out if you want to watch the other half of this, it either is up or will be up on Jeff's channel. Link to that in the description where we talk about the runner cards. The Corp cards are good.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
But no, it was a really good discussion. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
And so people should definitely check that out as much as I've been undercutting it while we record.
With that, a couple of shout outs. Firstly, if you want to make your own tier list, there's a link to the tier maker below. You can do your own. Would love to hear it for like startup or core or whatever. I guess core doesn't make sense, but startup or other formats, let alone your own like take on the meta, because that's obviously super important. We will generally try and return to this in like 3 to 6 months, whatever it takes, maybe after Worlds, who knows? And like kind of look back at what we learned, what we got right, and like the small things that we sometimes get wrong. I think that's it. If you want to leave a like on this video, if you like content like this, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. That stuff really does help on YouTube. And finally, Jeff, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. People should check out my YouTube channel and check out, I've been doing a podcast with favour called Measured Response. It's also on my YouTube channel, and it's in your podcast catcher of choice. So
yeah, they've been really fun. Thursday nights, mind you, right before the Metropole Grid. So you have a really nice Thursday night if you want to get in some Netrunner content. With that, thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Enjoy Vantage Point. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Obviously a long one and a long time coming. Now, while this is pretty late after the release of Vantage Point, this was recorded just about 2 weeks after the set came out. So maybe a bit too much time in editing, but our takes were relatively fresh. And speaking of that, it's really fascinating to see which of these takes have already proven to be either correct or incorrect. We are just, next weekend is the beginning of the Mega City Championship season. District Championships have just come to an end. And it's already really nice to see all the Gankeds and Mitras and the Lotus Haze decks. I told you, it's scary. I want to give a huge thank you to all these names here and more that support the Metropole Grid on Patreon so we can do stuff like this. Whether it's casting, live streaming, video editing, all this sort of stuff takes time and money, and it cannot be done without the help of all these names here and, of course, our daily cast patrons. If you want to support the channel, you can find a link in the description to the Patreon. Also, if you just want to take a second to leave a like on the video, leave a comment, all that sort of stuff helps as well. Of course, a huge thank you to Jeff for joining me as always. It's an absolute treat. And of course, please watch the runner side of the tier list up on his channel, link below. Definitely a very different tone, but very much an interesting set nonetheless. And with that, thanks so much for watching. Love to hear your takes on our tier list, whether we're correct or wrong. Of course, we will revisit this in a couple months' time and see where things really landed. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.